Chapter 1419. Wang Sheng had already dismantled the snowmobile and kept all the parts. He couldn't help but laugh when he saw Tang family's master asking so anxiously, "Don't worry, I won't go back on my words," Wang Sheng said to Tang family's master as he turned his gaze to Song Yan. Song Yan's face was covered in sweat. Even a ninth-degree realm expert would sweat after running 20 to 30 miles on lava with a temperature of over 1,000 degrees. Song Yan, who was covered in sweat, looked like a beauty who had just gone through a workout, which made Wang Sheng's heart flutter. The others did not have eyes as good as Wang Sheng's, who could see even the slightest detail. Furthermore, they did not have a relationship between Wang Sheng and Song Yan. Thus, their focus was not on that. Instead, they focused on Wang Sheng's movements, fearing that he would run away. Sigh. Wang Sheng let out a long sigh in his heart. Between him and Song Yan, there were many trials and tribulations. In the past, when they had the chance to be together, they were separated by Song Hongda. Now that Song Yan had finally taken control of the Song family and could make her own decisions, there was the matter of the girl in his dreams. Fate was playing tricks on him. Song Yan took a look at Wang Sheng, but didn't dare to meet Wang Sheng's eyes, so she looked at the surroundings. This entrance was obviously newly exposed. Looking at the traces of cooling volcanic rocks around it, this entrance was probably sealed not long ago and was washed out by something as powerful as a stream of water. When Wang Sheng advanced, Song Yan was on top and didn't see the terrifying scene of the lava whirlpool, but her subordinates told her about it later. Obviously, this should be exposed by the lava whirlpool caused by Wang Sheng's advancement. That Aki was really good at finding the way to be able to find this place in such a short period of time. In a flash, Wang Sheng's figure had already retreated into the entrance, and at the same time, a box appeared in his hand. If I were you, I would retreat as far as I can. At the very least, I would retreat to a distance of 10 zhong and hide behind those pillars. Wang Sheng did not reveal the secret of the ground of Thousand Despair. Instead, he began to advise them. "Are you going to go back on your word?" The leader of the Shi clan shouted. "I'm not going back on my word." Wang Sheng smiled and said to the crowd, "Retreat 10 zhong away, and I'll tell you." Everyone looked at each other, stunned. "Retreat." Song Yan's voice rang out just in time, and she gave the order without hesitation. The clans were clearly hesitant. Song Yan's voice rang out again, "Retreat." Finally, the families no longer hesitated and obediently retreated. In fact, there wasn't enough space here to begin with. Only a few dozen people were able to rush to the front. Most of the experts were still around the stone pillars at the back, waiting for the space in front to clear up before they could rush over. There were only a few dozen people who wanted to retreat. Wang Shankai watched as everyone retreated, including Song Yan and the other 6 chief stewards, retreated to the nearest stone pillar. There's more than one similar ceiling formation in this lava lake. Wang Sheng's voice rang out from the cave. "I've calculated, there are 24 of them." Just this one sentence was enough to stun everyone from the 8 great clans. There's more than one similar ceiling formation. There are 24 of them? The principles of the formation are very similar. They all need to cut off the energy of the lava below before the ceiling formation can be broken. Wang Sheng ignored the crowd's shock, and his voice rang out from the cave. "As for which stone pillars are the formations, you'll have to look for them one by one. Who are the people sealed inside?" Song Yan didn't care about anything else, and hurriedly asked loudly in the direction of the cave. "According to my guess, they should be the 24 strongest experts from the 8 great clans 500 years ago." Wang Sheng didn't hide anything from Song Yan and directly told her his guess. "This is also why I dare to say that your clan head and grand elder will rush over and kowtow as soon as he finds out." Boom! More than 300 experts from 8 great clans were shocked out of their wits by this shocking news. The 24 strongest experts from the 8 great clans 500 years ago. How could this be possible? How could they accept this? The experts who had been staying below naturally didn't know what had happened above. However, the leaders knew, and they were also shocked. If the girl in their dreams hadn't appeared, they would definitely have thought that Wang Sheng was talking nonsense. However, The girl in their dreams had broken out of the ice pillar alive, and she had even killed the Dai clan's leader with ease. This was enough to prove that it was absolutely possible to survive after being sealed in ice for 500 years. When they thought that their ancestors from 500 years ago might have survived until now, the leaders of the 8 great clans were a little impatient. Compared to this news, letting Wang Sheng and that girl temporarily leave the underground space was nothing. No wonder Wang Sheng dared to say such arrogant words. If this news was true, not only the clan head and grand elder, but the entire elders guild would probably come and kowtow. Is what you said true? Song Yin asked in a trembling voice, but the people around her didn't think that it was strange. They were still shocked, speechless. You can verify it yourself. Of course, you don't have to release those people. Wang Sheng's voice was obviously smiling. Think about it. If they come out, who will be the leader of the 8 great clans? Your ancestors? Or the current clan head and elders? Bystanders didn't have a deep understanding. Even the leaders of the 8 great clans were just small supervisors. There were many Legend Realm experts above them, as well as the clan head and elders guild. Therefore, the leaders of the 8 great clans didn't think much of it. However, Song Yin was different. She was the true clan head of the Song clan, and she held the real power in the Song clan. If the Song clan's ancestors really appeared, then she would really have to think about how to face them. Wang Sheng didn't go back on his words. He had revealed the core secret of the grounds of Thousand Despair, but his last sentence was clearly a nail in the coffin for the 8 great clans. No wonder Wang Sheng was smiling when he said that last sentence. Just one sentence was enough to put the clan head and elders guild in a dilemma. Was there anything else that could make Wang Sheng more proud? That's right. Also, Wang Sheng's undisguised laughter sounded from the cave entrance. It was obvious that his laughter was getting louder and louder. You can consider whether or not you want to undo those seals. However, those ancestors of yours should be guarding something that emits a powerful aura. That is the reason why the spiritual energy in the grounds of Thousand Despair is so dense. It is also the true secret of the grounds of Thousand Despair. Wang Sheng. When Song Yin heard the last sentence, she couldn't help but curse at the cave entrance. You bastard. Chapter 1420. The land of Thousand Despair still had 24 of the strongest experts from 500 years ago sealed in ice. Was this secret important? Of course it was important. However, as Wang Sheng had said, it was still a matter of discussion whether to release these ancestors. The patriarchs and elders of the various clans were already used to the feeling of being in control of the clan's affairs. Suddenly, an ancestor from 500 years ago had appeared. What should they do? Let the ancestor take charge of the clan's affairs? Not to mention others, the patriarchs of the various clans were unwilling. Why? But the problem was that the ancestor himself was an extremely senior. Back then, he was also an extremely powerful expert who was able to fight evenly with the top experts of the Lin family. With such a senior suddenly appearing in the clan, could the patriarch still have the final say in the clan's affairs? As long as the ancestor gave the order, the patriarch would have to grit his teeth and carry it out. Not carrying out the order would be considered unfilial and disrespectful to the ancestor. Who could bear such a crime? But what if the ancestor gave the order, and it was an untimely order? What should they do? The possibility of that happening was extremely high. It was 500 years later, not 500 years ago, when the ancestor had shaken the world. Some things had really changed. Even a vast ocean could become a mulberry field, not to mention the 500 years of human development. Every time Song Yin thought about having an ancestor in the clan, she would know that the patriarchs and elders would definitely not be happy to have an ancestor that they could not hit, scold, contradict, or serve. Even if they were not the patriarchs and elders, the other members of the clan would not be happy. Therefore, before this, everyone still had a choice. Although they knew the secret, and that 24 ancestors from 500 years ago were still sealed in ice, they could still discuss how to break the seal. As long as the ancestor did not appear, there would not be so much trouble. But what did Wang Sheng mean by the last sentence? The true secret of the land of Thousand Despair was what their ancestors were guarding. Now that the news had reached the ears of the patriarchs of the various clans, even if they did not want to break the seal, they would not be able to do so. What else could it be that the ancestors were willing to seal themselves to protect, other than the method to cultivate the Lin clan's peerless experts? It was laughable that the Sure clan had paid a huge price to obtain the soaring Phoenix Heart technique from the peerless treasure. Perhaps it was just an entry-level technique in front of these guarded secrets. Didn't that peerless expert not hesitate to reveal the secret of the Phoenix origin spirit? If it was an extremely important secret, why would that peerless expert reveal it so casually? Thinking of this, Song Yan's eyes swept across the Sure clan's patriarch. At this time, it seemed that the Sure clan's leader had also realized this problem. His face was ashen, and he looked as if he had lost his soul. Anyone who saw him would feel sorry for him. If a secret that could be guarded by the 24 most powerful ancestors was discovered, how much would the strength of each family increase? Song clan's patriarchs, 1,000 clan Song. 1,000 ancestors is 1,000 ancestors clans of? Clans 1,000 experts as clan, Old Yang's and clans of Song's 1,000 clan experts, of course. Song Yin could choose to suppress all the news, but the problem was that the Song clan was not the only one here. None of the 8 great clans had fallen. Just now, Wang Sheng's voice was not soft. Even the experts who were farthest away had heard it. No matter how powerful Song Yin was, she could not possibly fall out with everyone and kill everyone who knew about it, right? Since that was not the case, the patriarchs and great elders of the various clans would have to rush here as fast as possible and wait for the ancestors to break the seal so that they could kowtow. However, although she was unhappy, Song Yin understood Wang Sheng very well. It could be said that after Wang Sheng walked out of this entrance, he would become the real public enemy of the world. Previously, when Wang Sheng left the capital, he had already experienced the hostility of the various clans. However, at that time, the secret of the ground of 1,000 despair had not been solved, so everyone chose to tolerate and compromise. But now, the secret of the grounds of 1,000 despair had been personally unraveled by Wang Sheng. Moreover, Wang Sheng had even taken away the peerless expert from 500 years ago. Not for anything else, but out of fear of that woman's vengeance, the various great clans would do everything in their power to kill Wang Sheng and that woman. This time, they would not rest until one of them was dead. It was no wonder that Wang Sheng would leave such a dilemma for the great clans at the last moment before he left. Bringing trouble to the great clans meant that Wang Sheng and that woman had a chance to live. Smart man. Song Yin had never doubted that Wang Sheng was not smart enough. If Wang Sheng was not smart enough, he would not have been able to create such a situation. What a pity. Fate made fools of people. If not for Song Hongda's decision that year, she and Wang Sheng would be together forever. How happy would that be? Now, Song Yin could not help but worry about another problem. That was, how are they going to determine which of the 24 ancestors belonged to which clan? This was going to be another troublesome matter. In the future, they might have to invite the 8 great clans to participate every time the seal was lifted. Otherwise, if their ancestors were killed by other clans after the seal was lifted, they would not know where to cry. In addition, the more troublesome problem was that the 24 ancestors might not all be from the 8 great clans. 500 years ago, there were more than 8 clans that participated in the attack on the Lin clan. There were more than 100 of them. There might even be ancestors from other clans or sects that had disappeared. How were they going to deal with them when the seal was lifted? In the past 500 years, the 8 great clans had killed many of their former comrades. Just a few years ago, a small sect had been destroyed because they had the recipe for the nature pill. What would happen if some of the ancestors were experts from those sects? Most importantly, no one knew whether the other party was an ancestor or not. Who knew what their ancestors looked like 500 years ago? They could only wait for the seal to be lifted before they could find out their identities. If 1 or 2 of them had a grudge against the 8 great clans, the 8 great clans could only wait to cry. Those were powerful experts who had fought the Lin clan's peerless experts to the very end. How are they going to deal with them? In that instant, Countless thoughts flashed through Song Yan's mind. In short, not a single one of them made her happy. Perhaps obtaining the true secret of the Ground of Thousand Despair was the reward that would make Song Yin slightly happier. On this trip to the core of the Ground of Thousand Despair, there was nothing else that suited Song Yan's expectations. As she was deep in thought, a violent explosion suddenly rang out from the hole where Wang Sheng had disappeared. Boom! The huge explosion was accompanied by a slight tremor in the entire space. Then, the entire space began to reverberate with the echoes of the explosion for a long time. Chapter 1421. How could they not pay attention to such a huge commotion? The smart ones immediately thought of something. Not good. Wang Sheng had destroyed this entrance. Song Yin came to this conclusion in an instant. Wang Sheng was indeed Wang Sheng. He was decisive enough to destroy the entrance without hesitation. This also meant that it was impossible for anyone to chase after Wang Sheng and the others from here. The next moment, Wang Sheng's voice strangely rang in everyone's ears. Don't worry, it's just a small section of the tunnel. Wang Sheng's tone was no longer the kind of gloating which caused the 8 great families to be vexed, but a very calm warning. It won't affect your safety. If you want to go out, you could go back the way you came or spend a few days to dig a new tunnel. Anyway, your lives won't be in danger. Indeed, Wang Sheng had left enough leeway for Song Yin. What he wanted was time and not a massacre. On this point, Song Yin was both angry and hateful towards Wang Sheng's thoughts, but there was nothing she could do. Thinking back carefully, the box which appeared in Wang Sheng's hands when he went in earlier should be the thing which destroyed the tunnel. After standing in a daze for a moment, Song Yin quietly instructed her maidservant, "Record down the look of that thing which Duke was sitting on when he left, and make one based on it when we get out." The snowmobile was just too useful. It could run so fast, and there was no need to worry about magma. It could even move in the mud and could be used on the snowy ground. It was simply an all-purpose transportation tool. Since it had already revealed its true appearance in front of everyone, then don't blame others for imitating it. A few experts were impatient, and without a care for anything else, they flew into the tunnel. But within a few breaths' time, they had no choice but to retreat. Wang Sheng was definitely an expert among experts in terms of explosives. He had set up more than 10 points along the tunnel with black gunpowder, and at the same time, the might of the explosions had caused the tunnel to collapse by at least 300 meters. They were all 9th-stage realm experts, and although they didn't bring any digging tools, they were still able to dig out a path with their weapons. However, Wang Sheng's goal had been achieved. This period of digging was the time that Wang Sheng had bought for himself and the girl in his dreams to recover. "Aki, what does it lead to?" Wang Sheng asked Aki, who was leading the way with the girl in his dreams on his back. "It leads to a large, sealed cave." Aki answered while walking with the torch in her hand. She did not notice that Wang Sheng did not have any lighting tools in the dark, but he was walking more steadily than her. "There's a formation above the big hole. It's the entrance and exit formation, but I can't open it yet. I need you to break it." However, passing through the formation was not a problem for Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng followed Aki and quickly rushed to the sealed cave that Aki had mentioned. Along the way, Wang Sheng could feel that the terrain was rising, and this path was more than 10 kilometers long. Although it was said to be a big hole, it was actually a large hall with a circumference of 300 meters. Other than a few stalactite pillars, there was nothing else. Wang Sheng also saw the formation that Aki had mentioned. It was diagonally upwards, and it was also translucent. Wang Sheng could see waves of water above. Since it was water above, then Wang Sheng understood why Aki was able to determine that this was the entrance and exit. Once they left this place, they would definitely reach the glacier lake. When they reached this place, Wang Sheng and Aki stopped and carefully carried the girl in their dreams. Originally, Aki thought that Wang Sheng would let the girl in her dreams lie on the ground to rest, or at most use a piece of animal skin as a cushion. She did not expect Wang Sheng to take out a pile of things from his storage ring and set up a bed in a short while. Seeing Wang Sheng carefully placing the girl in her dreams on the bed, that degree of care made Aki a little jealous. However, Aki quickly returned to normal. Who is she? Why did she have to be jealous of others? Who is she? Aki also helped and carefully placed the girl in her dreams. She's the reason I came here. Wang Sheng's answer was very profound, and Aki did not understand at all. However, Aki had one good thing about her. She would not ask about things she did not understand. If Wang Sheng was willing to let her know, he would definitely tell her. Wang Sheng could finally sit down quietly and accompany the girl in his dreams. He could see the face that had haunted him in his dreams. The girl was currently unconscious. Although her breathing was rapid, it was very even. Her body would tremble from time to time. Perhaps there was still an unbearable coldness in her body. Reaching out, Wang Sheng carefully moved the hair that was hanging down to cover her face to the sides of the girl's face. A breathtakingly beautiful face appeared in front of Wang Sheng. The girl's eyes were closed, so Wang Sheng could not see her eyes. He did not know whether it was because of the loss of blood or because she had consumed too much energy, but the girl's face was very pale. There was not a trace of blood on her lips, and she was very weak. Wang Sheng's fingers caressed the girl's soft lips. The girl seemed to have felt it, and her lips trembled a few times. Wang Sheng felt the girl's condition and immediately took out 2 essence-cultivating pills and carefully put them into the girl's mouth. The girl swallowed instinctively. The essence-cultivating pills melted in her mouth, and a medicinal power inside slowly entered the girl's stomach and then spread throughout her body. Of course, Wang Sheng did not forget to give the girl a few more mouthfuls of water. Seeing that her swallowing had returned to normal, Wang Sheng let out a sigh of relief. Where did she come from? Aki asked while helping Wang Sheng examine the girl's body. I'm afraid you won't believe me if I tell you. Wang Sheng was in a good mood now. He said to Aki with a smile, if I say that she was rescued from a ceiling formation 500 years ago, would you believe me? Aki's hand paused, and she turned to look at Wang Sheng, as if she was a little incredulous. Wang Sheng looked at Aki with a smile. He looked into her eyes and did not avoid her gaze. Of course I believe you. Aki also smiled, and then lowered her head to continue examining the girl's legs. I believe everything you say. Even if you say that she was the #1 expert of the Lin family 500 years ago, I will believe you. You are so smart. Wang Sheng was stunned, and then he gave a thumbs up. She was the #1 expert of the Lin family 500 years ago. Aki's face instantly froze, and even the movement of her hand stopped. Seeing that Wang Sheng did not seem to be joking, she lowered her head to look at the extremely weak girl, and then raised her head to look at Wang Sheng. She opened her mouth to say something, but it seemed like she could not say anything. After a while, Aki's action of examining the girl's body slowed down. She did not question Wang Sheng's words, and only said to Wang Sheng, "You are lucky. There are no other injuries on her body." Wang Sheng nodded. It was the same on the side he had just examined. The girl in the dream was not injured, and it was a great fortune. Chapter 14:22. At least Wang Sheng didn't need to worry that his external injuries would affect the girl's recovery. For the time being, Wang Sheng hadn't seen any signs of the girl coughing blood or any internal injuries. So her current weakness was purely due to the exhaustion from the battle and the 500 years of fighting against the array. The girl's current condition was very bad, and if it wasn't for Wang Sheng's injection, she probably wouldn't even have that period of consciousness. During the period of time from the ice ceiling array to this place, the girl in his dream had already fallen into a deep sleep. It could be seen that her body was like a lamp that had run out of oil. Luckily, Wang Sheng's injection had stimulated her potential, and she could slowly use some mild medicinal pills to nourish her. At least from the current situation, as long as the girl in his dream was given enough time, she wouldn't dare to say that she would completely recover, but it shouldn't be a problem for her to be able to move around on her own for a period of time. Alas, all these required time, and it was obvious that the 8 great families didn't intend to leave enough time for him and the girl in his dream. In the tunnel where Wang Sheng had exploded, Wang Sheng had already heard the sound of someone digging. 100 feet long tunnel. If those 9-stage realm experts were to go all out, they definitely wouldn't take more than 2 days to dig through. This wasn't a solid volcanic rock, but one that had collapsed from the explosion. As compared to Wang Sheng's digging, it was much easier. Looked like the secret which he had revealed at the end must have agitated Song Yin, so she would be so deranged as to not leave any time for Wang Sheng. What Wang Sheng wanted was a longer time, but Song Yin didn't let him have his way. This was considered as the both of them not fighting on the life and death level, but had switched to another aspect of competition. Aki, bring these along and blow up another section of the tunnel at the back. Wang Sheng pondered for a moment, then immediately took out a box of black gunpowder and handed it to Aki, letting her operate it. Previously, when Wang Sheng was blowing up the passageway, Aki had already seen Wang Sheng's demonstration. Wang Sheng had already divided the black gunpowder into the form of small explosive bags. As long as the fuse was properly installed, it would be fine. Aki learned it in a few moments and ran to operate it. Not long after, the few experts from the 8 great clans who were digging in the tunnel heard the faint sound of an explosion and felt the slight tremors. All of them shook their heads. The commotion was too obvious. Having experienced it once, they could immediately tell that Wang Sheng had blown up another section of the tunnel. Song Yin did not stay there to keep an eye on the stone pillars. Instead, she led a group of experts to check if there were any formations on the stone pillars. Although Wang Sheng was a scoundrel, he was very trustworthy. If he said there were other formations, then there must be more. It's done. When Aki returned, the girl in the dream was still unconscious. When reporting to Wang Sheng, Aki's voice was also very low, as if she was afraid of waking up the girl in the dream. One of Wang Sheng's hands never left the girl in the dream. As he channeled spiritual energy into her, he used the 9 syllables incantation to nourish the girl's body in her sleep. Wang Sheng had also heard the sound of the explosion just now and nodded. Duke, even if that section is blown up, it will only last for 2 more days at most. Aki looked at Wang Sheng's careful posture, as if he was carrying the most precious and fragile item, and could not help but advise, if you want to recover in peace, you have to hurry to an absolutely safe place as soon as possible. In a situation where there was a blockade in front and pursuers behind, it would be extremely difficult for the girl in the dream to recover. It was already good enough that she could hang on to her last breath. If she really wanted to recover, it would probably take at least half a year to 6 months. Moreover, she had to have a famous doctor by her side to nourish her. Otherwise, it would probably take even longer, and she might not be able to recover completely. Sometimes, Wang Sheng really did not understand. One person did not bring her family to Earth, and the United States was so powerful that they could bully anyone they wanted. How could she fight against the whole world? This did not seem to be the way the girl in his dream did things. However, who could say for sure what happened 500 years ago? Perhaps when the girl in the dream woke up, she would tell Wang Sheng about what happened at that time. Wang Sheng and Song Yin seemed to be in a situation where one party was pressing the other party to recover. Fortunately, the passage was not very wide. At most, it could accommodate 2 people working at the same time. There could not be too many people digging, and the digging speed was also constant. This gave the girl in the dream at least 2.5 days to recover and recuperate. The formation masters who were inspecting the stone pillars one by one in the lava lake searched for an entire day and night. They had examined tens of thousands of stone pillars. It was not until the afternoon of the 2nd day that they finally found a formation wave on one of the stone pillars. This discovery made all the people who were searching for it excited. There was also a formation wave, which meant that what Wang Sheng said was very likely true. A group of 7 or 8 formation masters gathered around the stone pillar and began to peel off the camouflage layer on the outside of the stone pillar. Then, they began to study the formation on the stone pillar. Song Yin was watching from under a stone pillar not far away, waiting for the results. Not long after, a cheer came from the other side. The formation master from the Song clan who had entered the sealed space with Song Yin quickly ran over from the lava lake. Song Yin saw his ecstatic expression while he was still on the way. It is the same formation that the Duke destroyed. When Song Yin heard the result, She felt relieved. It seemed that her enemy had not lied to her. There was indeed a similar ceiling formation. Just search for the formation. Don't do anything else that is not related to it. Song Yin commanded the hundreds of experts from the 8 great clans loudly, including the other 7 clans' masters. There are some things which we cannot decide. Don't make a mistake. They were all intelligent people who would do those things which had not been researched by the clan master and elders. To be able to find the stone pillar, which had an array, was already a huge merit. Those who liked to do something superfluous would never be able to achieve the 9th stage realm of cultivation. Following the marking of the formation stone pillars, Song Yan's thoughts became more and more complicated. She was afraid that these matters would really require the 8 great clans to discuss behind closed doors. On the other end of the tunnel, after sleeping for an entire 2 days and 2 nights, the girl in the dream finally opened her eyes for the first time. In these 2 days and 2 nights, Wang Sheng had never left the side of the girl in the dream. He had been taking care of her attentively, and the 9 words incantation had never stopped. Looking at the pair of beautiful eyes which had opened, the ecstasy in Wang Sheng's heart rushed to his head. Yes, it was this pair of eyes. This was the pair of beautiful eyes which he had seen countless of times in his dream. Lone Wolf, is that you? The girl in the dream opened her eyes, and the first person she saw was Wang Sheng. She seemed to be extremely surprised as a sliver of joy appeared in her eyes. It's me, Wang Sheng hurriedly replied. Why didn't you kill me? The girl in the dream's next sentence made Wang Sheng and Aki stunned. Chapter 1423. Aki was shocked that Wang Sheng was acquainted with the Lin family's peerless expert from 500 years ago. How was that possible? But what she heard was exactly what it meant. She even knew the name Wang Sheng registered as an assassin in Carefree City. If she wasn't acquainted, then what was she? But how could someone from 500 years ago know the current Wang Sheng? Could it be that Wang Sheng was also from 500 years ago? Also, why did this girl ask Wang Sheng why he didn't kill her? What was the reason? Wang Sheng was also shocked. But Wang Sheng was shocked that the girl in the dream still wanted him to kill her. When the ice pillar was unsealed, Wang Sheng was sure that this wasn't what he heard. Why? Wang Sheng asked the girl in the dream in confusion. Why do you want me to kill you now? Because the girl in the dream wanted to explain, but she suddenly frowned. Why? Wang Sheng and Aki were stunned again. The girl in the dream wanted Wang Sheng to kill her, but she couldn't even remember the reason. The girl in the dream seemed to be getting anxious, but she still couldn't remember why she wanted Wang Sheng to kill her. Kill me. The girl in the dream kept murmuring. But why? Kill me. Wang Sheng could already see that the girl's condition wasn't right. If this continued, her body that had just gotten better would worsen. He had used the 9 words mantra to recuperate until now, but he couldn't let the girl's body get any worse. Don't worry, don't worry. Wang Sheng comforted the girl in the dream softly. If you can't remember now, don't think about it. Think about it when your body gets better. As he spoke, Wang Sheng used the 9 words mantra's confrontation formula to calm the girl in the dream. Now, Wang Sheng's 9 words Buddhist incantation had been completely comprehended by the 7 words formula when he completed the mocking wind transformation previously. The 7 words formula was the first thing he said, and the effect was outstanding. With the current state of the girl in the dream, it could be said that she was no match for Wang Sheng's 7-word formula of the 9 secret words. Her emotions were easily controlled by Wang Sheng. After a while, she calmed down. Although she was still panting, her emotions were no longer fluctuating so much. By the way, we've known each other for so long, but I haven't introduced myself yet. Wang Sheng changed the topic and said to the girl in the dream, Wang Sheng is my code name. You know that. My name is Wang Sheng. What's your name? Phoenix. What Phoenix? The girl in the dream didn't seem to understand anything. She heard Wang Sheng's words and then answered Wang Sheng's question. I'm Lin Ling. The girl's answer made Wang Sheng's heart sink. Phoenix was the code name Wang Sheng gave to the girl in the dream. In the dream, Wang Sheng and the girl in the dream called each other by their code names. But now, this Lin Ling didn't know what Phoenix was at all. What was going on? Phoenix, is your source soul? Wang Sheng forced a smile and explained to Lin Ling. He hoped that Lin Ling could remember something. After all, from how she couldn't remember why she wanted Wang Sheng to kill her, she seemed to have lost a lot of memories. This wasn't a good thing. My source soul is a phoenix? Lin Ling was still taken aback. Then, she immediately shook her head. However, her body was very weak now, and it was very difficult for her to shake her head. No, my source soul is just a lousy sparrow, and I can't cultivate. I've never cultivated before. Lousy sparrow? That's right. This woman was a phoenix indeed. But she said she couldn't cultivate and had never cultivated before. What did that mean? Did she completely lose her memories of cultivation? If Wang Sheng didn't personally witness how Lin Ling killed that Dai family leader with one finger in a semi-conscious state, Wang Sheng would probably believe what Lin Ling said. However, Wang Sheng experienced it himself. So, he would rather believe that Lin Ling lost all her memories of cultivation. Then, do you remember who I am? Wang Sheng asked again. When did we meet? You're the lone wolf. Wang Sheng. Lin Ling answered quickly and then frowned at the second question. We know each other? Yes, we know each other. How do we know each other? Seeing this, Wang Sheng understood that Lin Ling probably didn't even remember how they met. Okay, don't think too much. Seeing this, Wang Sheng's heart ached. He quickly persuaded, recover your body first. Aki didn't understand at all. Wang Sheng really knew someone from 500 years ago, but how did they know each other? She was planning to listen to the gossip, but Lin Ling didn't remember anything. What was more ridiculous was that her source soul was actually a phoenix. Aki remembered that she was shocked when she heard this name. After reporting it to the Xia family, the great elder of the Xia family personally came and told her to forget everything about this. It was taboo. What was a phoenix? Aki didn't know, but she knew it was very important. Now, she realized that the phoenix source soul might be this Lin Ling's source soul. But her source soul remembered very clearly. It was a lousy sparrow. What was going on? Aki was completely confused. However, she was the most clear-headed one among the three, so she couldn't help but remind Wang Sheng. Duke, they will be digging in at most a day's time. The sound from the tunnel was very clear. Although Aki had continuously destroyed a few sections of the tunnel, those fellows seemed to have taken some kind of medicine these 2 days. They dug crazily and their speed was too fast. Aki definitely knew about Wang Sheng and Song Yan's matter. At least when Aki was caught by Song Yan didn't stop provoking her on this. So, Aki could understand that Song Yan must be burning with jealousy, so she let those 9th-degree experts dig with all her might. It would be strange if they were slow. Moreover, there was the big secret that Wang Sheng revealed. Even Aki wanted to see what those experts from 500 years ago were guarding. Under the urging of that secret, the hundreds of experts inside were probably more diligent than having a knife on their necks. I'm afraid we don't have much time to recover. Aki reminded Wang Sheng again, afraid that Wang Sheng would continue to stay here because of Lin Ling's weak state. And the 3 days that Wang Sheng fought for would be meaningless. Wang Sheng was a little hesitant. If they left here, Wang Sheng and Aki definitely wouldn't have much problem. The key was Lin Ling. With Lin Ling's current weak state, could she withstand the pressure of the hundreds of meters outside? Even if the glacier lake kept leaking, but this place was at least 200 to 300 meters deep. Could Lin Ling withstand it? Chapter 14:24. Wang Sheng actually missed this trick. He didn't think that he would need to bring Lin Ling, who was extremely weak, out of the deep water. Therefore, Wang Sheng didn't prepare any tools for this. After all, in this world, as long as one had a little bit of cultivation level, they would definitely be able to withstand the process of rising from 2 to 300 meters underwater to the surface. But the problem was that Lin Ling's current condition was very bad. She was worse than an ordinary person, let alone someone who was at the 3rd or 4th level. Leave me. Lin Ling didn't know what was going on in her head. Hearing Aki's words and seeing Wang Sheng's hesitation, she suddenly said, "Let me die. Don't think too much. Wang Sheng reached out his hand and gently touched Lin Ling's long hair. His gaze paused on her delicate face for a moment and smiled, coaxing a child. Good girl. Perhaps it was from the bottom of her heart that she approved and felt close to Wang Sheng. But Wang Sheng's gentle and caring words made Lin Ling feel very good. She nodded obediently and didn't speak anymore. Hearing the clear, digging sound coming from the direction of the tunnel, Wang Sheng looked up at the semi-transparent formation barrier. His gaze slowly moved down and moved to the diving suit that Lin Ling was wearing. This diving suit was designed according to Wang Sheng's figure. Therefore, when Lin Ling wore it, it looked very ridiculous. It was a lot bigger. The sleeves and trouser legs were a lot longer, and the collar and cuffs were also very big. It was as if Lin Ling was wearing a big sack. It didn't set off Lin Ling's petite figure at all. However, this diving suit was made from the skin of a 14th level super sperm whale after all. The protection formation on it was definitely strong enough. Most importantly, the collar, cuffs, and trouser legs were all sealed with waterproof formations. In other words, as long as Wang Sheng continued to inject spirit qi, the formation in these places would work. If it was filled with gas and the sealing formation was activated, it would be a big airbag. There would still be pressure in the water, but it had been cushioned by the formation once. With the air cushioning, she should be able to handle it. As for the exposed limbs and head, Wang Sheng didn't feel it was a problem. It was just a minute or two at most. Lin Ling would definitely be able to hold on until she floated to the surface. In fact, with compressed air for her to breathe, she didn't need to float to the surface. As long as she could go 50 meters underwater, the pressure would decrease by a few times. There were definitely risks, but it was worth it to leave safely. Wang Sheng didn't want to leave her here. He would either kill her or take her away. He wouldn't let her fall into the hands of the 8 families. From how the Sure family couldn't wait to ask Lin Ling about the secret of the phoenix, one could tell that if she fell into their hands, the outcome would be tragic. Wang Sheng would rather Lin Ling die. After putting everything away, Wang Sheng took Aki and Lin Ling to the barrier. Compared to Lin Ling's fragility, this barrier was definitely strong. There wasn't even a drop of water a few hundred meters deep seeped down. The amount of spirit qi energy used was probably not an ordinary amount. We're going into the water, and our hair will get wet. Don't be scared. Wang Sheng put the goggles and mask on Lin Ling's face and let her breathe in the compressed air. I'm not scared. Lin Ling was still in Wang Sheng's arms. She said softly and immediately breathed in. Wang Sheng held Aki's hand with the other hand. This was Wang Sheng holding Aki's hand after a long time. Aki's face heated up. Luckily, Wang Sheng had his back to her and didn't see it. However, Aki's hand grabbed Wang Sheng's big hand. The 9 words mantra's 7 words were activated. With the Xing word chant as the main, Wang Sheng easily found the wave of the formation and adjusted himself. Aki was a bit far away. It probably wouldn't be easy to pass through the formation just by holding hands. Wang Sheng pulled Aki and Aki into his arms on his right. This time, Aki was ecstatic. She hugged Wang Sheng and Lin Ling and buried her face in Wang Sheng's chest as if she was fighting for this position with Lin Ling. Under Lin Ling's curious gaze, Wang Sheng passed through the barrier like an illusion and instantly entered the water. The water temperature wasn't high. Aki was fine and immediately used spirit qi to protect herself, but Lin Ling shivered. Her body was too weak. Just this kind of water temperature made her very uncomfortable. Luckily, the formation on the diving suit had already been activated. Lin Ling only felt cold on her hands, feet, and head. Her body was as warm as ever. However, due to the huge water pressure, even after being buffered twice by the formation and air, Lin Ling still felt a little suffocating. After passing through the formation, Wang Sheng passed the underwater thruster to Aki. Aki followed Wang Sheng's instructions and began to carefully control it to float up. There was a lot of air in Lin Ling's diving suit, so she floated up quickly. Aki still had to control it to not float up too fast. Otherwise, decompression sickness was not a joke. Lin Ling's body was so weak. If she got decompression sickness, it would be very bad. When the 3 of them floated up to 5 meters from the water, Wang Sheng took out a few metal parts and used the weight of the metal to maintain the balance of buoyancy. Wang Sheng identified the direction and pushed the underwater thruster horizontally, swimming to the shore of the glacier lake. Wang Sheng didn't need to do much scouting to be sure that there were definitely masters of the 8 families patrolling above the water. After Song Yin sent that signal, those people probably received the order to kill anyone who wasn't from the 8 families. If they didn't show their heads underwater, they wouldn't attract their attention. When they were more than 15 kilometers underwater, and Lin Ling looked like she couldn't hold on much longer, Wang Sheng finally let Aki float to the surface. As expected, there weren't many people here. Wang Sheng quickly guided Aki to set up a speedboat. While letting Aki clean Lin Ling's body, Wang Sheng took out a thruster and drove the speedboat to the shore. Just as Wang Sheng expected, there were masters of the 8 families monitoring the entire lake. However, Wang Sheng's speedboat was too fast. Although those masters could see Wang Sheng's speedboat from afar, their boats couldn't catch up to Wang Sheng's speedboat no matter what. They could only send out signals to the people ahead to stop them. Wang Sheng's speedboat overcame all obstacles along the way, leaving one expert after another in the dust. In just over 2 hours, it had reached the silt at the lakeside. Chapter 1425. The glacier lake kept flowing through the underground tunnel. Although the tunnel in the center of the lake was not as big as it was at the beginning, it was still flowing. This could be seen from the continuous flow of water in the underground river. Every day, every hour, and even every moment, the glacier lake's water level was dropping and the shore was pushing in. Every moment, there was actually new mud exposed. In this mud, Wang Sheng's snowmobile was invincible. After traveling for several tens of kilometers, no expert could catch up to him. Even if they borrowed the strength of some of the large trees that had been frozen and then submerged, they would not be able to catch up. The masters chasing behind could only send out signals along the way, telling everyone that Wang Sheng was breaking through in this direction. As if they were summoned, masters from all sides gathered in this direction. Driving the snowmobile, Wang Sheng rushed to the edge of the cliff, which was originally the edge of the glacier basin. The dry ground couldn't stop Wang Sheng at all. The pure-track snowmobile could even pass through the mud, let alone the dry ground. As long as he entered the forest of the ground of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng could basically be said to be invincible. Almost all the animals in the ground of Thousand Despair were Wang Sheng's help. In addition, he could discover the enemy a few miles in advance. If he didn't fight, it wouldn't be a problem at all. The cliff, which was hundreds of feet high, couldn't stop Wang Sheng and Aki from climbing up with Lin Ling. But after going up, Wang Sheng found that it was big trouble. At this time, the little person with battle consciousness actually entered a silent state, sitting in the corner of the source soul space, motionless. There was no movement at all, let alone a warning. In other words, Wang Sheng's ability to discover the enemy from a few miles away in the ground of Thousand Despair had temporarily been lost. But now, Wang Sheng couldn't care so much. He had to leave here first. Didn't he see the signals behind him firing like a machine gun? Even without relying on the little person with battle consciousness, Wang Sheng himself had reached the legendary realm. He had mastered the 7 words formula of the mantra of 9 secret words. Wang Sheng commanded a group of strong insects to open the way, while at the same time, he used the line formula to explore. With the 9-word mantra and Wang Sheng's super sense of sight, hearing, and smell, Wang Sheng could also detect enemies ahead of time. It was just that the range was smaller. If it wasn't for the weak Lin Ling, Wang Sheng didn't need to worry at all. In a land of 1,000 despair, even a legend rank expert would not be able to touch Wang Sheng's shadow. However, Lin Ling's current situation was very bad. Not only could she not help, but she was also a burden. Wang Sheng and Aki couldn't conceal her heavy breathing at all. Just this point alone was equivalent to a beacon for countless experts. Wang Sheng had an extremely strong sense of hearing. Among the experts of the 8 great clans, there was no lack of such innate or acquired experts. Not to mention those who were not far away. Aki's companion, the Big Ear, could easily follow Lin Ling's voice from a few miles away. The Big Ear's cultivation level was only at the second or third stage of the realm. Now, the people in charge of the encirclement were all experts of the legendary realm. However, Wang Sheng was not completely helpless. At least, wherever Wang Sheng passed, all the insects that could make a sound within a radius of 3 miles were now making a sound. No matter how good one's hearing was, it was not easy to find a person's heavy breathing among thousands of insects. Another point that Wang Sheng was very clear about was that if it was an expert of the 9th stage or below who was chasing after him, Wang Sheng could not care less. There were all kinds of fierce insects in the land of 1,000 despair that could injure or even kill experts of this level. However, in the face of a legend rank expert, it was a completely different matter. After entering the legend rank, Wang Sheng discovered that he could easily construct a spirit chi barrier around his body. Any small insects that tried to collide with him would be easily repelled away. Even if Wang Sheng had an army of man-eating ants surrounding him, the most he could do was surround or wrap around a legendary expert's body. In reality, not a single man-eating ant could touch the opponent's body. They could only gather outside of the opponent's spirit chi barrier. In other words, a legendary expert was invincible in the land of 1,000 despair. If there were legendary experts in the 8 great clans back then, they would not be able to solve the secret of the land of 1,000 despair. However, they would definitely be able to come and go as they pleased in the outskirts of the land of 1,000 despair. However, in the core area of the land of 1,000 despair, even a legendary expert would have to kneel down. Thinking about it this way, Wang Sheng discovered that Uncle Li and another terrifying expert had long been in the worry-free city. Perhaps they had entered the outskirts of the land of 1,000 despair earlier than Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's strength came from his survival skills, which allowed him to bring low-level experts in and out freely. However, this was not a skill that those super experts possessed. Uncle Li probably did not have such skills, so at most, 1 or 2 experts could go in and out, but they would not be able to obtain any specific benefits. Of course, there was another type of expert, such as old Taoist Ling Su. From the beginning, he had never thought about entering the land of 1,000 despair. If it were not for Wang Sheng, the old Taoist would not have cared about the changes in the land of 1,000 despair, nor would he plan to dig out the secrets of the land of 1,000 despair. These thoughts appeared in Wang Sheng's mind in an instant. Wang Sheng shook his head slightly and threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. Once again, he carried Aki on his back and randomly chose a direction to go into the depths of the jungle of the land of 1,000 despair. There was no specific destination, so even Wang Sheng himself did not know where he would go next. In this case, it was even more impossible for the people chasing after him to predict Wang Sheng's target and arrange for people to intercept him in advance. On the path ahead of Wang Sheng, there was a master 3 miles to his right. It was a legendary level master. It seemed at this time, the 8 major families had definitely taken out all their assets. Other than a large number of masters deployed on the glacier lake, the rest were all in this part of the area. Although it was not that densely packed, there would always be one in each area. Wang Sheng was confident in killing a master, but not only would he alarm the other party, he would definitely not be able to prevent the other party from discovering him and sending out a signal. It was not worth it to go over and kill him. He secretly gave Aki a signal, and the two of them used the chirping of countless insects to hide their movements and carefully went around. They were lucky that this master did not have a particularly good sense of hearing. After making their way around one of the experts, Wang Sheng and Ah Chi used the same trick again. Without anyone noticing, they managed to evade the search of at least 3 experts, venturing several tens of li deeper into the forest of the lands of 1,000 despair. Logically speaking, this place should be relatively safe, and Wang Sheng thought so too. However, just when he gave Lin Ling some food and drinks, rested for a while, and was about to continue moving, he suddenly realized that the 3 of them had been surrounded. Chapter 14:26. The other party was very skilled. Even Wang Sheng only noticed when the other party was within half a kilometer of him. However, Given their current distance, it was no longer possible for Wang Sheng and the others to leave without making a sound. There were at least 15 people surrounding Wang Sheng, and they were all legendary rank masters. From the moment Wang Sheng sensed their presence until now, Wang Sheng didn't notice any extra movements from them. They were like elite warriors who had trained countless times. They had a clear division of labor and great teamwork. They flanked from a few directions silently. They were definitely masters among masters. The masters Wang Sheng recognized didn't refer to their cultivation level. In terms of cultivation level, these people were all at the legendary rank. They belonged to the first tier of masters in this world, but Wang Sheng might not consider them worthy. Wang Sheng believed that their brilliance was due to their tracking, concealment, outflanking, and cooperation. Everything about them was comparable to a special ace sniper like Wang Sheng. Which family were these people from? Since when did the 8 great clans cultivate such a group of hidden experts? And they were actually so proficient in these skills. How could they let others live? Achi had originally intended to stand up and follow Wang Sheng out. However, he suddenly noticed that Wang Sheng was leaning forward slightly, assuming a posture that suggested he was about to attack. Shocked, Achi immediately followed suit and assumed a state posture. She was on Wang Sheng's back, and she couldn't help but moan when she was hit by Wang Sheng's chi. This movement was even more obvious. It could almost tell those masters where they were now. To Wang Sheng's surprise, even though the other party knew where the 3 of them were, they only moved forward another 100 meters or so. When they were about 200 meters away from Wang Sheng, they stopped. They didn't attack nor retreat. It was as though they were just trying to confirm their position. Was it the Song family? Only the Song family knew that Wang Sheng could fight a dozen people who had just reached the legendary rank, so they didn't come up to provoke him. They just surrounded Wang Sheng and waited for reinforcements? That was possible, especially in the land of Thousand Despair. The most elite masters of the Song family had lived there for 10 years. Only they could truly master the survival skills in the land of Thousand Despair. Just as Wang Sheng was contemplating whether he should immediately engage in a life-and-death battle with the Song family, he suddenly caught a whiff of a familiar scent. It was from one of the masters. If they were still at the distance when Wang Sheng first discovered them, Wang Sheng wouldn't be sure. But now that they were so close, Wang Sheng was completely sure. This was a forest. It wasn't like the glacier basin where Wang Sheng could smell beasts for miles away. There were all kinds of smells here. Within a radius of 100 meters in the forest, there were no less than tens of thousands of smells. It was normal to not be able to find them at first. After catching a whiff of this person's scent, Wang Sheng could basically tell which family this person belonged to. No, Wang Sheng suddenly became alert. If it was that family, it was possible that they were well-trained, but they couldn't be so experienced. Yes, experienced, really too experienced. Each of these silent masters seemed to have killed their way out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Although their murderous aura was extremely restrained, how could they hide it from Wang Sheng? Moreover, what reason did they have to be so proficient in some skills that they didn't need to master at all? Those dozen masters were simply the most brilliant assassins. They were cautious, careful, and professional. If an ordinary expert had reached this level, they would surely be renowned throughout the world. However, Wang Sheng was unable to sense anything that he had heard of from these people. It was as though they were a group of assassins hiding in the dark. Yes, Wang Sheng confirmed again that he could finally confirm the identity of these people. However, that person was actually with them. This world really couldn't be more interesting. The Godly Might prison has sent so many people. It seems that they really think highly of me. Wang Sheng stood up and said to the front. His voice was mixed with the 9 syllables mantra. Everyone could definitely hear it, but it wouldn't alarm the people in a larger area. Everyone knows how powerful the Duke is. Someone on the other side immediately said, "It's not too much even if they send more people. We only have so few people, so we've embarrassed ourselves in front of the Duke. But how can the Duke be so sure that we are from the Godly Might prison?" Previously, although there were 20,000 places for people to advance to the legendary realm with the help of the Grandmaster's concert, Most of them were monopolized by the 8 big clans. The other small clans and forces could only get a quarter of them at most. 5,000 places sounded like a lot, but it was already quite difficult for the Godly Might prison to gather more than 10 legendary masters when they were divided among hundreds of forces. Other than an experienced killer, who else could approach me so silently? Wang Sheng gave the other party an answer. Only the most powerful killers can do it. The people from the worry-free city don't have such a fierce aura like yours, so it can only be the Godly Might prison. Thank you for your compliment, Duke. The other party wasn't in a hurry to make a move at all. He echoed Wang Sheng's words and replied, "If the Duke's words were to spread, I believe the Godly Might prison's business would increase by at least 30%. How much commission can we earn this time? I can pay double." Wang Sheng didn't waste any time and directly said to the person on the other side, "The Godly Might prison has cooperated with me more than once or twice, but you haven't met a rich customer who surpasses me, right? Of course, the Duke is the biggest customer of the Godly Might prison. This hasn't changed so far." The person on the other side smiled and said sincerely, "If it was business, we wouldn't have accepted the bounty against the Duke at all. It's not business this time, so I'm sorry, Duke." "It's not business?" Wang Sheng laughed out loud. "So it's the Godly Might prison's own plan?" The 8 super clans had already turned out in full force, and the Godly Might prison wanted to get involved. What was so hard to understand? It was too normal. If Wang Sheng's guess was right, almost all the famous forces had probably entered the land of despair, trying to find some opportunities, right? "You can say that." The other party smiled and admitted, "Duke, we've had such a pleasant business cooperation. Actually, we can still cooperate this time. As long as the Duke cooperates, we won't offend the Duke and 7th Madam. We can cooperate." Wang Sheng smiled. "However, there's a question I want to know first. Is the Godly Might prison the Royal Godly Might prison?" Old Shun. Chapter 1427. There was no sound from the other side all of a sudden. Everyone was silent. However, Wang Sheng could sense that there was a moment of panic in their breathing. Achi was already stunned from listening. It was not surprising that the people from the Godly Might prison were the first to find him. The most professional assassins had some tricks or techniques that others did not know about, so it was not surprising that they could find someone. Aki was also a death warrior, so she had her own unique techniques. She could accept that they found Wang Sheng. However, the fact that the Godly Might prison was related to the royal family was unbelievable to Aki. The Godly Might prison had always been known for being mysterious and ruthless. They were known as the top 2 assassin organizations in the world together with Carefree City. However, the Carefree City was relatively open. Anyone could come to the Carefree City and register themselves as an assassin with a code name. Overall, Carefree City's organization was rather loose. However, the Godly Might prison was different. The Godly Might prison's assassins had always been trained by themselves. The internal organization was very strict, and it was difficult for outsiders to find out. Brokers who accepted jobs publicly would usually not show their own people unless it was a big deal or the other party had a powerful background. For example, clients like Wang Sheng and the 8 major families. Under normal circumstances, the Godly Might prison's assassins would only leave their names and rarely show their faces to the public. Apart from a few famous top-notch assassins, few outsiders knew how many people there were in the Godly Might prison. Interestingly, the Godly Might prison's assassins could also register a killer identity in Carefree City. Sometimes, they could get 2 reward for the same bounty if they killed their own people. However, it was impossible for the Carefree City's assassins to become the Godly Might prison's assassins. Wang Sheng said that the mysterious Godly Might prison was the royal family's Godly Might prison. How is that possible? However, when had Wang Sheng ever lied? Also, who is Old Shun? People like Aki were not qualified to know the names of the royal family's 3 consecrators. Therefore, it was normal that she did not know who Old Shun was. Indeed, nothing can be hidden from the Duke. Among the people from the Godly Might prison, a person who had never spoken or acted strangely spoke from afar. His voice immediately carried a familiar trembling feeling. To Wang Sheng, This person was too familiar. Be it the smell or the voice, it was Old Shun, one of the royal family's 3 consecrators. In fact, among the royal family's 3 consecrators, Old Shun was the only one whom Wang Sheng did not know. Head Steward Li was the head steward of the imperial household, while Steward Zhou was the emperor's personal bodyguard and close attendant. These 2 people were often by the emperor's side. Only old eunuch Shen did not need to be by the emperor's side at all times. It was only now that Wang Sheng finally understood old eunuch Shen's secret mission, which was to lead the Godly Might Prison. When the world supreme of Godly Might Prison and Bloodblade came to kill me, they said that they owed someone a great favor and had to repay it. Wang Sheng did not tell old eunuch Shen about the current situation, but asked about an old matter. Do you owe someone a favor and want to kill me? The Godly Might Prison has owed too many favors over the past hundreds of years. Old eunuch Shen's chuckle reached Wang Sheng's ears, and there was an indescribable helplessness in it. At that time, you're not a big customer of the Godly Might Prison, so I just did it casually. Why do you have to ask so clearly? For an assassin organization that had existed for hundreds of years to be able to safely kill so many people in this world like Mount Tai, in addition to being mysterious and valiant, it was likely that they had received help and protection from the outside world. It was normal for old eunuch Shen to say that. However, Wang Sheng instantly understood many things. With the relationship between the royal family and the great clans, I don't think the Godly Might Prison will be willing to help the great clans deal with me, unless they offer a great price. However, that's impossible. Wang Sheng smiled. Considering the timing of the attack and the fact that Old Shun was hesitant to speak, I'm afraid the one who wants to kill me is the royal family itself, right? The first time Wang Sheng met the emperor was to threaten the emperor. Then, there was the threat of the poison gas bomb, and so on. All in all, Wang Sheng was an unstable factor at that time, and he had a lot of money in his hands. Most importantly, Wang Sheng had yet to show any intention of siding with the royal family. Killing Wang Sheng at that time would allow them to take over Wang Sheng's assets and eliminate the threat. It would be killing many birds with one stone. It would be strange if the royal family did not take action. The only thing they did not expect was that Wang Sheng killed the Bloodblade alone, and the Godly Might Prison had to admit defeat. The emperor might have changed his mind at that time, and the Godly Might Prison would not target Wang Sheng anymore. The 7th prince's mother, the confidant of one of His Majesty's concubines, saved the Bloodblade's life. Old eunuch Shun did not defend himself after being exposed by Wang Sheng. He only explained to Wang Sheng, the concubine died of a sudden illness, and the palace did not announce it much. His Majesty did not stop it at that time, because he wanted to see what you're capable of. The emperor had ordered the 7th prince to die, but Wang Sheng could have saved someone at that time. But Wang Sheng had saved Steward Wang instead. It was understandable that the 7th prince's mother hated Wang Sheng. This was also an explanation that old eunuch Shun had given to Wang Sheng on behalf of the emperor. The emperor did not stop the Bloodblade's appearance in the imperial city because of his selfishness, but it did not mean that the emperor wanted to kill Wang Sheng. Forgive me for being straightforward, but the 16 of you might not be able to keep us here. Wang Sheng did not comment and went straight to the current situation. Old Shun, aren't you being too careless? There can't only be the 16 of you in the imperial family, right? Duke, the emperor never told us to keep you here. Old Shun quickly said, of course, if you're willing to return to the capital with us, you'll still be the famous Duke Chong Sheng. There won't be any changes. Of course, the price of going back with them was that Wang Sheng would stay in the capital and become a dog of the imperial family. He would never leave the capital. This was the promise Wang Sheng made before he left. It was still valid now. However, they didn't know of Lin Ling's existence, which was why they said this. If they really knew of Lin Ling's identity, the imperial family was one of the forces that participated in the annihilation of the Lin family. The first to kill Lin Ling would probably be the imperial family. Song Yin and the rest hadn't come out yet. Not just the imperial family, but even the 8 families probably didn't know how big of a mess Wang Sheng had caused. They only knew one thing, and that was to kill Wang Sheng on sight. As for the imperial family, they only wanted to win over Wang Sheng before the 8 great clans. Sorry, I need to leave with them. Wang Sheng rejected old Shun's suggestion. You can choose to attack or let us leave. Then, I'll tell you the secret of the land of thousand despair. You have half an incense stick's time. Chapter 1428. The secret of the ground of thousand despair in exchange for Wang Sheng leaving with the 2 women. Did he need 15 minutes to make a decision? Eunuch Shun made his decision almost instantly. He wanted the secret of the ground of thousand despair. However, before he said it out loud, old Eunuch Shun sharply noticed something fishy. Was the secret of the ground of thousand despair that easy to obtain? What was Wang Sheng trying to protect? The 8 major families had already issued a kill order for Wang Sheng. As long as they saw Wang Sheng and the people around him, they would kill them without exception. What was the reason for the 8 major families to be so heartless? Was it because Wang Sheng knew the secret of the ground of thousand despair? Since he had already stated his identity, Eunuch Shen didn't mind moving forward and talking to Wang Sheng face to face. Of course, the most important thing was to confirm the identity of the 2 women around Wang Sheng. Old Eunuch Shun had already seen the information and portrait of the long-legged assassin Ah Chi from Worry-Free City many times. He could match him, but who was the person Wang Sheng was carrying on his back? A member of the 8 major families? He was sure it wasn't Song Yin, who was rumored to have an ambiguous relationship with Wang Sheng. If Duke is willing to tell us the secret of the ground of thousand despair and the identity of the woman on your back. Eunuch Shun made a decisive decision and added a small bargaining chip. I can make the decision to let you guys leave. This time, the person who hesitated was Wang Sheng. He was indeed an elite who fought his way out of a hypocritical place like the palace. He immediately saw through the fact that Wang Sheng was trying to hide Lin Ling's identity. Now, Wang Sheng needed to make a decision. Should he trust Eunuch Shin's character or not? He could either choose to fight or leave. However, Wang Sheng didn't hesitate for long. He quickly made his choice. Sure, but I can only tell you. Furthermore, I can only tell you before we leave. Wang Sheng weighed the pros and cons and ultimately chose to believe old Eunuch Shun. The royal family had no reason to fight to the death with Wang Sheng. As for Lin Ling, Wang Sheng had another guarantee. I will personally send you off. Old Eunuch Shun heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He had made the right bet. At least he could learn more. Since they had reached an agreement, old Eunuch Shun was very thorough. With a whistle, all the experts of the Godly Might prison turned around and left. Soon, the place was empty. Duke, in reality, were not the only ones searching for your whereabouts. Old Eunuch Shun did not forget to do Wang Sheng a favor at this moment. The 8 great clans and even the smaller clans have joined forces. I'm afraid it won't be easy for the Duke to leave the grounds of thousand despair safely. Thank you. Wang Sheng signaled Aki to lead the way while he carried Lin Ling forward. Old Shin stayed by the side and didn't ask or talk along the way. He quietly followed them for a few miles and carefully observed Wang Sheng, Aki, and Lin Ling's situation. Okay, it's about time. After such a long time, it was enough for Wang Sheng to arrange some small tricks before he stopped and rushed to Old Shin. In the grounds of Thousand Despair, there are 24 experts who have been frozen for 500 years. I don't know which clan they belong to. Wang Sheng used the simplest words to explain the secret of the grounds of Thousand Despair. At the same time, there are 24 experts guarding the grounds of Thousand Despair that made the spirit chi in the grounds of Thousand Despair so dense. Moreover, it's something that the number 1 expert of the Lin family used to cultivate. Old Shun's eyes were wide open. Such an unbelievable thing actually happened in the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair. Now, the various clans might have just released the news. Their clan leaders and elders might be gathering in the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair. Wang Sheng didn't mind giving the 8 great clans more trouble. He took the initiative to remind Old Shun. They haven't had time to remove the seal and can't confirm which clan those ancestors belong to. If you don't hurry up, I'm afraid those people will be controlled. They must be very weak after removing the seal. Of course, old eunuch Shin knew how important this matter was, so he nodded heavily. Just this secret alone was enough for old Shun to let Wang Shun go. Then Old Shun looked at Lin Ling, who was on Wang Shung's back, and asked hesitantly. Lin Ling. Wang Shun didn't hide it, and said Lin Ling's name directly. Lin? Old eunuch Shun's pupils constricted instantly. If he didn't think much of this name before, then Wang Shingang had just said that he would be very weak after breaking the seal. In addition, his surname was Lin. It was enough to remind old eunuch Shun of many things. That's right. Wang Shun was no longer afraid of old Shun turning against him. He just didn't want to waste the little bit of life force that Lin Ling had accumulated with great difficulty in a pointless battle. Just as Wang Shun said, if they really fought, old Shun and the 15 masters of the godly might prison wouldn't be able to stop them. Old eunuch Shun pondered for a moment before raising his head and asking Wang Shun, Duke, what will happen if I go back on my word now? You will die, and so will those people in the godly might prison. Wang Shun said solemnly, the imperial family won't know anything about the secret of the ground of thousand despair. We might be injured, but we will leave alive. Duke, aren't you a bit too confident? Old Shun smiled bitterly. Duke, are you that confident that I won't attack after knowing this news? This has nothing to do with trust. Wang Shun shook his head and looked around. Old Shun's gaze followed Wang Shun's gaze and saw a few strange little animals in the bushes. A few of them looked like snow rats, but their skin was not pure white and was rather gaudy. There was also a fox and a wolf, both of whom had mottled fur. Instantly, the core of the ground of thousand despair flashed in old Shun's mind. He had seen those terrifying beasts there when it was still the glacier basin. After the glacier lake melted, where did those beasts go? Almost in the blink of an eye, old eunuch Shun was sure that these little animals were definitely the ones in the glacier basin. However, they were active outside, so their body color changed accordingly. Those ferocious beasts and Wang Shun's words made old Shun weigh the pros and cons for a long time. In the end, he didn't dare to attack. More than 10 people might not be able to stop Wang Shun and Lin Ling. Duke, you must be joking. After thinking it through, old eunuch Shun instantly laughed. I'm just joking. The royal family has never been your enemy. I'd rather believe that too. Wang Shun nodded in agreement. He didn't forget to remind old Shun again. I'm afraid you have to hurry up for some things, old Shun. Otherwise, if those places are controlled by the 8 families, the imperial family will never be able to rise again. Chapter 1429. Wang Shun didn't show absolute control, but what he had shown was enough. The beasts in the core of the ground of thousand despair were actually on par with masters who had just reached the legendary rank, and they were even more ferocious. Even though the godly might prison were all assassins, they had 0 experience in this state. Among the experts of the royal family, the 3 great consecrators were probably the most experienced in the legendary realm. However, the 3 great consecrators themselves had broken through under the guidance of Wang Shun and the old Taoist priest. They did not think that they had a deeper understanding of the legendary realm than Wang Shun. It was clearly unwise to fight with Wang Shun now. Not to mention the beasts in the core of the land of thousand despair. Even putting aside Wang Shun, eunuch Shun still didn't dare to underestimate that woman called Lin Ling. Wang Shun said that there were 24 masters from 500 years ago sealed in the core of the ground of thousand despair. Then, where did this Lin Ling girl come from? Old eunuch Shun could guess it almost instantly. If he could seal 24, why couldn't he seal 25? However, the more it was like this, the more old Shun didn't dare to make a move. The royal family also had some secret scriptures that were unsealed recently, and it mentioned battle instinct. Old Shun didn't think he was powerful enough to be mentioned in the same breath as the hundreds of masters from 500 years ago. Old Shun wasn't afraid of death, but he was afraid that the royal family wouldn't get the news in time, causing all the arrangements to be delayed. That would be fatal. Compared to letting Wang Shun and Lin Ling go, the royal family's great cause was the priority. Have a safe journey, Duke. This is as far as I can send you. Old eunuch Shun did not do anything drastic in the end. He calmly said goodbye to Wang Sheng. As for the girl behind Wang Sheng, old Shin didn't look at her after he made up his mind. He didn't want to make Wang Sheng unhappy. Old eunuch Shun's arrival was mysterious, and his departure was swift. After bidding farewell to Wang Sheng, he immediately left without any hesitation. Wang Sheng did the same. He immediately left in another direction with Aki and Lin Ling. The two of them didn't waste any more time talking and just hurried on with their journey, changing directions from time to time. If the godly might prison could find Wang Sheng and set up an ambush in advance, then other prisons could do the same. The only problem was that they were not in time. Wang Sheng had to leave the grounds of despair as soon as possible before the other families could react. Aki was obviously aware of this, but she was not afraid. She had already planned to return Aki's life to Wang Sheng. If she could help Wang Sheng restrain some of the pursuers, Aki would do it without hesitation. If we leave the grounds of 1,000 Despair, we'll definitely have to enter a clan's territory. Won't we be hunted down more easily? Aki and Wang Sheng walked for dozens of miles. When they stopped to rest, she couldn't help but ask curiously, didn't they say that the most dangerous place is the safest? Why don't we return to the core of the land of 1,000 Despair? The masters and important figures of the major families will gather at the core of the grounds of 1,000 Despair in a short time. Wang Sheng explained to Aki while giving her food and water. So the further away from the core of the grounds of 1,000 Despair, the better. Then where are we going? Aki still didn't understand. Beijing? The old Lord Temple? Wang Sheng shook his head. They definitely couldn't go back to Beijing. Although old eunuch Shun had just let Wang Sheng go, if they went back to Beijing, the emperor and the major families wouldn't let her live. By then, Mayor would be implicated, and those people might even use Mayor to threaten him. Wang Sheng would never let Mayor be in danger. Although the old Lord Temple was in the suburbs of Beijing, Wang Sheng didn't plan to drag it into this. If things went wrong, the entire world might attack the old Lord Temple. That wasn't something Wang Sheng wanted to see. Let's go to a place with no people. Wang Sheng sighed. As long as we can fight for half a year to a year, she will be able to recover. We'll talk about it then. Wang Sheng didn't say what to say, and Aki didn't ask. However, both of them knew that Lin Ling and the major families had a feud of annihilation before. Who knew what kind of conflict would there be? Wang Sheng could only take it one step at a time. He couldn't make a decision for Lin Ling. After resting for 20 minutes, the three continued on their way. After traveling in the dense forest for a while, Wang Sheng decisively changed direction and continued forward. Aki was already used to this. She didn't say a word and changed direction. After changing direction 3 to 4 times, Wang Sheng was sure that if there wasn't a master tracker following them within a kilometer, no one would know their current location. There was a valley ahead. Wang Sheng and Aki didn't walk along the ridge. Instead, they walked along the valley. There was a dense forest in the valley. Even if one stood on the ridge, one wouldn't be able to see the situation in the valley. Wang Sheng wasn't worried about being discovered at all. After walking a third of the way through the valley, Wang Sheng suddenly stopped. Aki immediately went into a vigilant stance. Did Wang Sheng find something? Wang Sheng's brows were tightly knitted together. Everything seemed normal here. He couldn't hear anything wrong nor smell anything wrong. However, Wang Sheng's intuition reminded Wang Sheng that something was wrong. What was wrong? Wang Sheng used the 7-word formula of the 9 symbolic words, but he still couldn't figure out what was wrong. Go back. Since he couldn't find anything wrong, Wang Sheng immediately called Aki and was about to go back. Rumble. Wang Sheng's movements were a bit late. Just when he made the decision, the top of his head suddenly exploded. It wasn't just one explosion, but hundreds of explosions. Wang Sheng pulled Lin Ling to his chest without hesitation and bent down to cover her. However, he couldn't care about Aki anymore. Countless fragments of the explosion smashed on Wang Sheng's back. However, such a powerful explosion was useless against Wang Sheng's 14th level super sperm whale skin. Other than the smoke of the explosion covering the forest, Wang Sheng wasn't injured at all. While covering Lin Ling, Wang Sheng felt the power of the explosion. However, although the sound of the explosion wasn't small, the power of the explosion was very ordinary. It couldn't even reach the explosive power of the military black gunpowder that Wang Sheng made himself. Looking at the smoke produced by the explosion, Wang Sheng could conclude that this was some kind of black gunpowder mixed with some messy things. Wang Sheng could smell a few. Interestingly, these items were all things that Mei had added to the shopping list to confuse people when she had helped him purchase them. In other words, these explosives were actually created by some people after referring to Chong Sheng Gong Fu's shopping list. Chapter 1430. Basically, as long as there was enough sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal in the mixture of gunpowder, it would be able to cause a moderate explosion. However, in order to increase the power, the ratio of several materials needed to be paid attention to. Wang Sheng's gunpowder was the result of several hundred or even thousands of years of optimization by countless outstanding people in the entire history of mankind. As for those that had just exploded, they knew that these few things combined together would probably not be able to explode for more than 3 years. Not to mention that these people didn't understand the chemical reaction equation. Just the fact that they hadn't removed the confusing impurities from the gunpowder was enough to explain the problem. This kind of gunpowder, if the power was strong enough, then it would be strange. If the impurities were not removed completely, not to mention the fine powder that Wang Sheng had processed with the 9 syllables incantation, which was extraordinarily uniform, they couldn't do it at all. Of course, the most important thing was that these people had only learned the shape of Wang Sheng, but not the spirit of Wang Sheng. When Wang Sheng had set up the black gunpowder to kill Blood Knife, he didn't rely on the explosion, but the flying black gunpowder dust that covered the entire area, the result of the instantaneous explosion. What really killed the Blood Knife was not the fragments of the explosion, but the high temperature produced by the explosion. The area of the black gunpowder explosion seemed to cover a wide area, but in fact, only some of the explosive power was able to kill a 5th or 6th degree expert. It was far from the high temperature of 1,000 degrees, and it didn't instantly burn all the oxygen. Just relying on the fragments of the explosion, at most, when it smashed onto Wang Sheng's body, it would only make Wang Sheng feel it, not even pain. But the method of setting up and igniting the black gunpowder was very clever. All the gunpowder was wrapped tightly, not revealing the slightest smell. Just this point alone was enough to make people have a whole new level of respect, not to mention the exquisite method of detonating it at the same time. In addition, the location of the black gunpowder was also very ingenious, all on the treetops. No matter how good Wang Sheng's eyesight was, when he looked up, he would also miss many things because of the shadow of the sun. Wang Sheng already had a trace of suspicion in his heart, but before he could do anything, another round of explosions occurred. It was another series of explosions. They weren't powerful, but Wang Sheng had to block them for her. Otherwise, with her current condition, she wouldn't be able to take it. Withstanding the explosion, Wang Sheng charged forward with his body crouched. He did not retreat as he had shouted at Achi earlier. Aki's actions were also very consistent. She didn't even take a step back. That shout was actually to confuse the other party. However, compared to Wang Sheng's calmness, Aki was a bit more embarrassed. Her cultivation was only at the 6th degree realm peak, and the explosion's power was enough to hurt her. If it weren't for Aki's vigilance, hiding behind the thickest tree trunk in time, and wearing 2 layers of protective clothing, she would have been killed by the explosion. Even so, Aki was shaken quite badly. The outer protective suit was full of traces of gunpowder explosions, and some fragments were even embedded in the protective suit. It was a frightening sight to behold. The explosions came one after another, as if they were chasing Wang Sheng and Aki. Wang Sheng knew that this must be a very intricate mechanism, so intricate that it was impossible to guard against it. Even someone as experienced as Wang Sheng couldn't avoid it. One could imagine how intricate these mechanisms were. After charging out for over 2,000 zhong, the sounds of explosions finally stopped. Wang Sheng and Achi were finally able to catch their breaths. But just after Wang Sheng took a few breaths, Wang Sheng found that he, Aki, and Lin Ling were surrounded again. The people surrounding them were still 300 feet away, but Wang Sheng could already hear their voices and feel their movements. There were a lot of people, more than 50. Among them, there were less than 30 experts in the legendary realm, and the rest were all experts in the ninth stage. But Wang Sheng's expression was more cautious than when he met the assassins of the Godly Might prison. This group of people was far smarter and scarier than the assassins of the Godly Might prison. Even if they were enemies who had entered the legendary realm, they would always suppress their aura to the level of the peak of the ninth stage. They would never rely on the aura of the legendary realm to suppress others or even attack. These people were extremely experienced. They probably realized that they couldn't control the power of the legendary realm perfectly for the time being, so they would rather suppress their power and fight with the power of the peak of the ninth stage, which they were most familiar with and could control. This was a truly terrifying opponent. They knew their strengths and weaknesses. Even Wang Sheng himself did the same. The power of the legendary realm could ensure that Wang Sheng had an almost endless supply of spirit liquid to unleash his strongest combat power at the peak of the ninth stage. But the real legendary realm was something that even Wang Sheng himself wasn't familiar with. Take the simplest cultivation method, for example. Wang Sheng had 512 acupuncture points, and at least half of them were wasted because he didn't have a suitable cultivation method to circulate them. The time was too short, and Wang Sheng didn't have enough time to optimize a suitable cultivation method for himself. The other party had too many people, so it was impossible to escape. Wang Sheng gave Aki a hand gesture to ask her to be careful, and he himself held the Tiger Fong army knife, ready to risk his life. The series of explosions just now were actually preparation for this moment. In order to deal with those explosions, Wang Sheng and Aki would definitely not be able to detect that there were people approaching from afar, and the obvious explosions provided an accurate location for those people. As long as they gathered in this central area, they would be able to block Wang Sheng. Just like the people of the Godly Might prison previously, those experts who surrounded them stopped when they were close to 100 feet away. At this moment, Wang Sheng knew that someone was going to jump out to negotiate. "Duke, leave the secret of the land of thousand despair and the girl you brought with you. Duke and Seventh Madam can leave at any time, and we won't stop you." An unfamiliar voice that Wang Sheng had never heard before shouted in this direction. "What if I choose not to?" Wang Sheng let out a long sigh and shouted in that direction. "Then don't blame us for being ruthless." The other party didn't hesitate to reply to Wang Sheng. "We should be friends, right?" Wang Sheng wasn't surprised by the other party's reply at all, but he still wanted to try. "Can you do me a favor today? I'll definitely repay you in the future." Duke's forthrightness is known to the whole world. The other party laughed and quickly replied, "Unfortunately, Duke has made the wrong choice. We can only offend you. I'm very curious." Wang Sheng also laughed and asked in the direction of the person who shouted, "Although the great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy are skilled, they aren't so fierce. Could it be that you are the experts in charge of coinage in the Pavilion of Delicacy?" Chapter 1431. Apart from the great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy, who else could make such exquisite outer packaging of gunpowder and mechanisms that even Wang Sheng couldn't see through? In any case, Wang Sheng couldn't think of anyone else other than the great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy. The big clans and sects each had a group of great grandmaster craftsmen, but the number was too small, so it was impossible for them to be proficient in all aspects. Apart from the Pavilion of Delicacy, only the Pavilion of Delicacy could produce gunpowder according to Wang Sheng's purchase list. In fact, there was bound to be a battle between the Pavilion of Delicacy and Wang Sheng. In fact, the Pavilion of Delicacy and Wang Sheng were bound to fight. This had been destined from the moment Wang Sheng started the gold note business of Li Jinfang. Previously, the Pavilion of Delicacy only accepted gold coins and didn't accept gold, so the two could barely coexist. However, as their businesses expanded in the future, They wouldn't be able to tolerate being exploited by the Pavilion of Delicacy. At that time, it was inevitable that they would go to the Li Jun Fong, which charged cheaper fees. Wang Sheng already knew that the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy hated Wang Sheng. It wasn't surprising that the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy would turn against Wang Sheng at this time. Moreover, the Pavilion of Delicacy didn't cover it up. When Wang Sheng found out that the diving suits had been duplicated, he knew that some people of the Pavilion of Delicacy were standing on the opposite side of him. However, Wang Sheng also believed that the great grandmasters in the capital who had worked with Wang Sheng before wouldn't turn against Wang Sheng. They weren't combatants, and they weren't interested in fighting and killing. They wouldn't make a move unless they were directly provoked. These people could only be the people that Wang Sheng had never come into contact with. They were the people of the mysterious mint of the Pavilion of Delicacy. They might be craftsmen or guards. Anyway, Wang Sheng had never seen any of them. As for those exquisite items, they might be the works of the great grandmasters in the capital without knowing. The other party did not seem surprised that Wang Sheng had exposed the other party's identity. Wang Sheng discovered that the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy who were hiding in the dark were extraordinarily elite. They were probably not inferior to the people of the Godly Might prison. What was even more frightening was that they were far calmer than the people from the Godly Might prison. Perhaps because they were guarding a huge amount of wealth, they had different requirements, which made them far more disciplined than the assassins. In this aspect, they could even be compared to the royal guards. The Duke is indeed extraordinary. The person who just spoke sneered, "But Duke, you don't need to try to be friend with us, and you don't need to guess our identities. Duke, you only need to know that the Pavilion Master is very dissatisfied with you. But as long as you cooperate, the Pavilion of Ling Long will still be your friend." "Let me guess." Wang Sheng laughed and said to the other side, "The Pavilion Master of the Pavilion of Ling Long has never shown her true face to anyone, but I believe that I must have seen her." The people of the Pavilion of Ling Long did not seem to be afraid that Wang Sheng would take the opportunity to recover his energy. They did not care at all that Wang Sheng was obviously stalling for time. Instead, they walked forward with interest for a while. When both sides could see each other, the person who just spoke said, "Continue. To be able to make a diving suit that only I know, she must have seen it with her own eyes." Wang Sheng readily followed the advice and immediately continued, "But it can't be Master Wang. A great grandmaster like her definitely has her own professional ethics and would never steal other people's design results." "That makes sense." The other party nodded repeatedly in agreement. He must have a very good relationship with many great grandmasters. Wang Sheng continued, not forgetting to be vigilant of his surroundings at the same time. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to know what other people made, and it would be impossible for him to copy it. However, I don't think he had contact with me at the beginning, because I made something a long time ago, and he didn't know about it. Wang Sheng explained his basis bit by bit, and then came to a conclusion. "So, he should have come into contact with me at a later stage." "Well, that's generally correct." The person nodded with interest, as if he was admiring Wang Sheng's reasoning. "The imitation is not bad, but there is still a slight difference." Wang Sheng continued to speculate at his own pace. It can only mean that the person should be a person with a good memory. It is impossible for him to directly ask those great grandmasters for the exact size and style, but after seeing it, he can rely on his strong memory and judgment to confirm it, and then find another group of great grandmasters to copy it. Don't doubt my eyesight. I'm also a great grandmaster, and I can see the difference between a great grandmaster and a great grandmaster. You are right. The person still nodded, as if he was looking forward to the answer that Wang Sheng could give him. "In addition, I found that you have more than 20 legendary masters here, and all of them have just advanced." Wang Sheng did not hide the number of legendary masters that the other party had, and he said, "Believe me, without the help of the great grandmasters concert, it is impossible for you to break through by yourself." "So what?" the person asked with a smile, and his face was full of disapproval. "In the end, we advanced. What difference does it make with or without help? The problem is that the Pavilion of Delicacy may not be able to snatch enough slots for the concert from the big families and sections. Wang Sheng smiled and shook his head. Don't think that the Pavilion of Delicacy can make gold coins, but who would be willing to accept 10% of the loss? So, it is impossible for you to snatch the slots from them. But in the end, all of our legendary masters who should have advanced, the person said proudly. So, you must have asked those great grandmasters to perform for you alone. Wang Sheng said his deduction without hesitation. Among those great grandmasters, there are some who are related to the Pavilion of Delicacy. So, it is not surprising that the Pavilion of Delicacy could ask them to perform. At least, what you said so far is basically correct. Seeing that Wang Sheng was about to reach the final conclusion, the person who had spoken still answered Wang Sheng very cooperatively. Actually, it is very easy to guess. Wang Sheng also smiled and said, the person who meets these conditions has only come into contact with me in recent years, has the opportunity to see the various things I've designed, and can openly observe my memories without arousing the suspicions of those grandmasters, has an encyclopedic memory, is very knowledgeable, has a good relationship with quite a number of grandmasters, and can even get those grandmasters to perform for you in secret. There seems to be only one person, right? Tell me, who is it? The person seemed to be curious about the identity of the Pavilion of Delicacy, and he reminded Wang Sheng to reveal the answer. Qian Xingyuan's chief appraiser, Master Qian. Wang Sheng turned in another direction and smiled at someone. You are the real Pavilion of Delicacy, right? Chapter 1432. The Duke is indeed brilliant. A familiar voice came from the direction that Wang Sheng was facing. After a while, a familiar figure to Wang Sheng slowly walked into Wang Sheng's field of vision. It was indeed the appraiser, Master Qian. Wang Sheng had already sensed his movements on the other side. The person on the other side was originally a tall and muscular expert. However, after Wang Sheng revealed his identity, the tall and muscular expert's bones and muscles contracted. In just a few moments, he had reverted to the wretched appearance of Master Qian. However, what surprised Wang Sheng was that the last time they met, Master Qian's cultivation was only at the 8th stage realm, but this time he appeared in front of him and was actually in the legendary realm. It had only been slightly more than half a year. No matter how fast Master Qian's cultivation speed was, it was impossible for him to be so outstanding, right? The only explanation was that Master Qian was already in the 9th stage realm, or even the peak of the 9th stage realm at that time. But he used a brilliant technique to conceal his own cultivation. After entering the legendary realm, the time was still short. Except for a few people, no one knew how to conceal their cultivation in this realm, so they were unable to conceal it. In fact, in the entire capital, other than Wang Sheng, the only person who could see the good things that Wang Sheng designed without restrictions, other than the great grandmaster himself, was only Master Qian. Master Qian was a good friend of those great grandmasters. They had known each other for decades, but no one knew his real identity. Even those great grandmasters felt that he had nothing to do all day, and specially looked for Wang Sheng to find the most suitable job for him. Relying on his encyclopedic knowledge and strong memory, he became an unparalleled appraiser great grandmaster. Not only that, because of him, an entire industry was extended to him. Now, there were at least thousands of people in the world who had not completed their studies in cultivation, but were similarly well-read and had seen the world, were turning into appraisers. Many people relied on these appraisers to give their items a good evaluation to make a fortune, and their status soared like a rocket. Just as Wang Sheng had said, only Master Qian could openly evaluate Wang Sheng's new work, and no one would doubt it. Only he could invite those great master musicians to perform in secret. As the pavilion master of the exquisite pavilion, great Master Qian was able to keep his temper and get along with these great grandmasters for decades without exposing his identity. He could have lived a life of luxury for the rest of his life, but he lived in the residence of the great grandmasters in the heavenly workshop for dozens of years. At the same time, he managed the Pavilion of Delicacy well and controlled the coin business firmly in his hands. He was definitely not a simple person. If he hadn't taken the initiative to reveal some things, such as the diving suit, Wang Sheng would never have thought that Master Qian was the mysterious pavilion master of the Linglong Pavilion. I thought that I had concealed my identity well, but I didn't expect that the Duke would be able to recognize me from so far away. In just a short while, Master Qian had not only restored his original appearance, he had even changed into the clothes that he had worn as an appraiser in Qianxingyuan. He was holding a large folding fan in his hand, and as he fanned himself, he walked over with a smile. "Long time no see, Master Qian." Wang Sheng cupped his hands at Master Qian and greeted him as if he had met an old friend. "Indeed, it has been a long time." Master Qian also had a happy smile on his face, just like when he was in the capital. Back when he was in Wang Sheng's residence, he behaved like this, and he still behaved like this. If it wasn't for the current situation, everyone would think that the two of them were old friends meeting. "Duke, can you clear up my confusion first?" Master Qian didn't seem to have the intention to make a move immediately. Instead, he smiled at Wang Sheng and asked, "How did the Duke recognize me from so many people who were completely different from me? I sprinkled a lot of things on my body to cover up my smell, and my figure is completely different. How did the Duke recognize me at a glance?" "I first guessed Master Qian's identity, and then I remembered to look for you among the crowd." Wang Sheng didn't hide it. At this time, letting Master Qian no more could buy him more time. "Duke, you couldn't see me, and my figure has also changed. Even if the Duke saw me, you shouldn't be able to recognize me. I didn't say anything, and you couldn't hear me. I also sprinkled those things on my body, so you shouldn't be able to smell them. How did the Duke recognize me from so far away?" Master Qian was really puzzled and asked curiously. He knew that Wang Sheng's five senses were absolutely sensitive, and that was why he had so many ways to deal with it. He didn't expect that he would be recognized immediately. It wasn't just Grandmaster Qian himself who was curious. Even Ah Qi, who was beside Wang Sheng, the expert from the Pavilion of Delicacy who had just spoken, as well as the other experts from the Pavilion of Delicacy who were still surrounding the Pavilion of Delicacy, but had yet to speak, were also curious. How could Wang Sheng accurately recognize the Pavilion Master under such circumstances? One must know that the direction that Wang Sheng turned to was not wrong at all, and he definitely wasn't making a wild guess. "Indeed, I didn't see, hear, or smell him at first," Wang Sheng explained with a smile. "He didn't look like he was about to face a big fight. But after I guessed that it was Master Qian, I just had to look for him specifically." Coincidentally, Master Qian and I have met more than once or twice. There are some things on him that can't be changed no matter how he changes his figure. "Oh, were those things?" Master Qian was stunned when he heard that. "I actually have such obvious characteristics that Wang Sheng can grasp them. Does that mean that other people can grasp them too?" "Master Qian, did your heart not have a good condition when you were young?" Wang Sheng asked with a smile. As he asked, he pointed to the position of his heart. "How did you know?" Master Qian's face changed, and he asked Wang Sheng anxiously. His body had been weak since he was born, and his heart was not good. After he cultivated, his physical fitness was gradually improved, and he was no longer as weak as he was when he was young. But this was Master Qian's top secret. Other than his parents and a few absolutely reliable old servants, no one knew about it. How did Wang Sheng know? "Although Master Qian, your cultivation is so high that you can't feel the difference in your body. This kind of disease that you were born with is not something that can be cured by Master Qian's high cultivation." Wang Sheng still addressed Master Qian as Master Qian instead of Pavilion Master. He explained with a smile, "Master Qian's heartbeat will be disordered every dozens of times, sometimes sooner or later for a moment. You can hear it if you listen carefully for a while." Although the irregular heartbeat caused by congenital heart disease was not so obvious, under the situation of Wang Sheng's abnormal hearing and the powerful 7-word formula of the 9-words formula, this small flaw could not be hidden from Wang Sheng's ears. It was also because of this familiar characteristic that Wang Sheng could accurately find out Master Qian from so many people. Chapter 1433. His words made the dozens of people present dumbfounded. There was such a thing? Generally speaking, as long as one was an expert, It was basically impossible for others to hear the heartbeat of others, even if they were within a close distance. This was because with the protection of one's own spiritual energy, it was impossible for others to hear it no matter how good their hearing was. They might not even be able to hear the sound of breathing. However, Wang Sheng was different. Other than having abnormal hearing, Wang Sheng also had the 9 words mantra. As soon as the 7 words formula was used, the vibration of some experts' spiritual energy could be clearly reflected to Wang Sheng. Therefore, unless the other party's cultivation had also reached the stage of converging divine energy, as long as the other party was within 1,000 feet, Wang Sheng would be able to detect it. In addition, the vibration of the body's spiritual energy would also bring about some internal effects of the body, such as the heartbeat. The arrhythmia caused by congenital heart disease was not a big problem for Master Qian now, but it would eventually have an extremely subtle impact. Therefore, Wang Sheng could hear it, or to be precise, it was the 7 words formula that gave him a hearing enhancement that allowed him to hear it. However, to others, it was really a little unbelievable. Even Master Qian's first reaction after hearing Wang Sheng's reason was to grab his wrist pulse and feel his heartbeat. After a moment of silence, Master Qian raised his head and gave Wang Sheng a thumbs up. Ever since he started cultivating, his body was getting better day by day. As early as a few decades ago, he was already not worried about his heart problems. Who would have thought that this inconspicuous heartbeat that would only appear for a moment every once in a while would be heard and remembered by Wang Sheng? This perfectly explained why Wang Sheng was able to tell that he was Grandmaster Qian without even seeing him, hearing his voice, or smelling his scent. This characteristic was simply too obvious. It would be difficult to mistake it for someone else. I see. Master Qian seemed to have solved the doubts in his heart, and his eyes lit up again. He cupped his hands and thanked Wang Sheng. Thank you for clearing up my doubts, Duke. You made me no longer confused. You're welcome. Wang Sheng smiled and returned the greeting to Master Qian. That's all. We talked about the past. Master Qian's expression slowly returned to normal. He asked Wang Sheng, what do you think, Duke? I can tell you the secret of the 1,000 despair grounds. Wang Sheng immediately revealed his bottom line without hesitation. She can't stay. In any case, Wang Sheng had already revealed the secret of the 1,000 despair grounds to the imperial family. It didn't matter if he told a few more clans. They could still cause trouble for the 8 great clans, so why wouldn't Wang Sheng do it? However, Lin Ling definitely couldn't stay. This old man does not know this young lady's identity. Master Qian sighed and said apologetically to Wang Sheng, however, I know that for the Duke to guard her so carefully, she's definitely not from any of the big families. Wang Sheng didn't comment, but he became vigilant in his heart. Judging from the way the exquisite pavilion master spoke, it was likely that she was going to make a move soon. Just now, 2 hours ago, I received an urgent report. The 8 great clans' grand elders set off immediately and rushed to the glacier lake. Master Qian slowly waved his fan and said to Wang Sheng like an advisor, for them to be so nervous, it's either the core secret of the 1,000 despair grounds or something that concerns the life and death of the 8 great clans. Duke, am I right? Absolutely right. This time, it was Wang Sheng who gave Master Qian a thumbs up. I can also guess that the secret of the 1,000 despair grounds is definitely related to the Lin family back then. Master Qian then pointed at Lin Ling. There's a high possibility that it's related to her. Of course, the secret of the 1,000 despair grounds was related to the Lin family. However, Master Qian could say that it was related to Lin Ling without anyone revealing her identity. This could only mean that he was sharp enough. Wang Sheng didn't admit nor deny it. Nodding now was equivalent to revealing the secret of the 1,000 despair grounds to the exquisite pavilion. Since they couldn't come to an agreement, Wang Sheng didn't want to tell the secret to just anyone. The secret of the Lin family and the 1,000 despair grounds concerns the life and death of the 8 great clans. Perhaps not only the 8 great clans, but many other clans, including the imperial family, are involved. Master Qian didn't mind Wang Sheng's attitude and said his own judgment. He just got the upper hand by Wang Sheng's deduction. Now, he wanted to get back at him. Of course, that includes the exquisite pavilion. Wang Sheng was obviously curious. Logically speaking, the exquisite pavilion was an amalgamation of grand master craftsmen. How could they be related to the Lin family 500 years ago? Wang Sheng understood those great grandmasters very well. Other than their skills, they didn't care about anything else, let alone competing with the world's #1 expert. How could such a sect like the Linglong Pavilion have a grudge against the Lin family? I'm not afraid to tell you, Duke. Master Qian seemed to have seen something from Wang Sheng's face. He smiled and explained the foundation of the exquisite pavilion was actually taken from the Lin family. Coin craftsmanship. Wang Sheng didn't even think about what Master Qian was going to say next. Am I right? I'm really impressed by the Duke's quick-witted mind. Master Qian gave Wang Sheng a thumbs up again, praising Wang Sheng's quick-witted mind. Wang Sheng sneered in his heart. If the master of the exquisite pavilion knew that what they regarded as their special skill was something that Wang Sheng and Lin Ling talked about in a dream, how would they feel? On Earth, when Wang Sheng and Lin Ling met in a dream, Wang Sheng taught Lin Ling many things, including the method of coin craftsmanship. No wonder the edges of the coins that Wang Sheng saw had sawtooth edges to prevent the gold from being stolen. This was a technique from Earth. The Lin family won't allow us to steal their things. Master Qian looked at Wang Sheng and Lin Ling on Wang Sheng's back and shook his head. Duke, it's not that we're being unreasonable, but if we nod, the entire exquisite pavilion will die. You're worried that the exquisite pavilion's coin craftsmanship can't be kept, right? Wang Sheng also shook his head, but he sneered and saw through Master Qian's thoughts. Afraid that the entire exquisite pavilion would die without a burial ground? Did they think that Wang Sheng's friendship with those great grandmasters was fake? No matter how bloodthirsty Lin Ling was, would she kill Wang Sheng's friends too? Although Wang Sheng couldn't control all of Lin Ling's targets, there were a few grandmasters who only cared about their own benefits. Wang Sheng had absolute confidence he could protect them. What Master Qian really cared about was benefits. Whatever you say, Duke. Master Qian wasn't angry because his selfishness was exposed. He just smiled and shook his head. What a pity. Chapter 1434. It's a pity indeed. Wang Sheng let out a long sigh as he smiled and asked Master Qian, "These are your trump cards? You didn't leave anything behind?" "Of course I did." Master Qian's eyes flashed, but he still opened his mouth to answer Wang Sheng's question. "I know you're powerful, so how would I dare to stake everything on one throw? I have to leave something for my children and grandchildren. It's good to leave some behind." Wang Sheng nodded. "As long as your children and grandchildren aren't greedy and settle down to be rich, they will still be able to be rich for the rest of their lives." Master Qian's eyes flashed fiercely, and the protective formation in front of him had already been activated to the maximum. There was only about 30 meters between him and Wang Sheng. Even so, he was still very cautious in protecting himself. Wang Sheng was famous for appearing and disappearing mysteriously when he killed people, so he couldn't be careless at any time. Wang Sheng's words had already indicated that he was going to take action. But the one who was at a disadvantage now was Wang Sheng himself. He was surrounded by 10 over 9th stage realm peak experts. Master Qian, as the pavilion master of Exquisite Pavilion, had already decided to let Wang Sheng and him take Lin Ling's life. How could he let Wang Sheng make the first move? Bung, 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 bung. When the continuous bowstring sounds reached Wang Sheng's ears, for heavy arrows specially designed by Wang Sheng and the grandmasters of Exquisite Pavilion had already shot towards Wang Sheng's position. 2 of the heavy arrows were aimed at Wang Sheng's chest and throat, while the other 2 were aimed at Lin Ling, who was on Wang Sheng's back. Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow was created by Wang Sheng's grandmasters, and the design was done by Wang Sheng alone. Even some special metal materials needed for the heavy sniper crossbow were purchased by Wang Sheng through Exquisite Pavilion. According to the price quoted by the Linglong Pavilion at that time, the cost of Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow alone was more than 50 million gold coins, and this did not include the price of the heavy bolts. After everyone knew how powerful the heavy sniper crossbow was, they all wanted to make a similar set through the Pavilion of Delicacy. Hearing this price, even the 8 great families frowned and gave up in the end. It couldn't be helped. The price was too high, and after it was made, it didn't have a scope, so it could only be used at close range. Moreover, it could only be used once in a battle, because after shooting, they wouldn't even have the strength to pull the string. Unless, before using it, the strength of many people, animals, or machines were gathered. Otherwise, apart from that freak Wang Sheng, how many people could pull the string with a force of tens of thousands of gene? However, this price was a joke in front of the exquisite pavilion master. Others might not be able to afford it, but how could he not? He was originally the supplier of the metal materials, so he could earn at least half of the price difference. The great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy couldn't be found by others, but for the exquisite pavilion master, it was nothing. In terms of cost, if the Pavilion of Delicacy wanted to make one heavy sniper crossbow for Wang Sheng, they could probably make 4. The heavy bolts were even easier to make. They could be easily made by a group of grandmasters as practice. Apart from the drawbacks that it could only be used once and at close range, using the heavy sniper crossbow designed by Wang Sheng to snipe Wang Sheng was simply the best way to kill him. Both sides were within 300 meters of each other. At such a close range, there was no need for a scope at all, and those masters could accurately hit the target. Wang Sheng's super sharp intuition made him feel that something was wrong the moment the enemy fired the crossbow. He dodged in time and avoided the fatal spot. However, the speed of the heavy bolts was several times faster than the speed of sound. Almost all the hidden weapons in the world couldn't catch up with it. Although Wang Sheng's intuition was sensitive to danger, but at such a close distance, he was still a little slow. Ding! The heavy bolt that shot towards Wang Sheng's throat was blocked by Wang Sheng's Tiger Fang dagger. The array on the arrowhead was also suppressed by Wang Sheng's 7 words formula and did not explode. But the other heavy bolt that shot towards Wang Sheng's chest was not blocked by Wang Sheng and hit right on Wang Sheng's left shoulder. Poof! The heavy bolt and the protective vest collided, giving off a low sound. Even with Wang Sheng's strong physique, he was still hit by the huge kinetic energy of the 2 heavy bolts and took 2 steps back. The array on the arrowhead did not explode either, other than the fact that Wang Sheng almost lost feeling in his left shoulder. He was not affected at all. The protective vest's strong protective effect was finally shown. The protective vest, made from the skin of the 14th stage super sperm whale, was strong enough that the arrowhead of the heavy bolts could not penetrate the protective array and the skin. The liquid bulletproof vest was able to disperse the force of the heavy bolts to the entire upper body. Because the heavy bolts used up all their kinetic energy, they paused in the air for a moment and began to fall. Wang Sheng's body retreated with the powerful force of the heavy bolts. Coincidentally, one of the 2 heavy bolts that shot towards Lin Ling was dodged and missed. The other one, however, could not be dodged no matter what. Just when Wang Sheng was worried that Lin Ling's extremely weak body could not withstand the impact of the heavy bolts, Lin Ling, who was slowly recovering in her sleep, almost instinctively reached out her right hand. In the blink of an eye, her entire palm brushed against the heavy bolt that was supposed to hit her waist. The incomparably swift, supersonic heavy arrow, in at less than 2 feet distance, made a turn at an unimaginable angle, but still maintained its supersonic speed, shooting toward another direction. The next moment, the familiar sound of 2 heavy bolts exploding sounded. At the same time, there was a cry of pain. Wang Sheng didn't need to look to know that one of the explosions was missed. That arrow hit some tree and exploded. The other one was from a master that was easily pushed aside by Lin Ling. It was definitely not a legendary state master. It must be the peak of the 9th stage. Even when Lin Ling was unconscious, she would instinctively look for the easiest enemy to kill. This was Lin Ling's battle instinct. It was the same as Wang Sheng's. Of course, Wang Sheng learned this from so many revolutionary seniors on Earth. Rather than injuring 10 fingers, it was better to break 1 finger. Even if he killed the weakest one, it was worth it. Killing one less would reduce the number of times he would be besieged. It would also affect the opponent's confidence. After a few more times, his side's morale would grow stronger while the opponent would be dispirited due to continuous losses. This would be an opportunity. The 4 heavy bolts opened the curtains of the battle. Under such circumstances, Wang Sheng and the Linglong Pavilion decisively started fighting. As soon as Wang Sheng was attacked, Aki had already shrunk her body and hid behind a tree. With her cultivation level, she was destined to be a burden. It was already a great fortune to be able to protect herself. Killing enemies was impossible. Boom! An explosion that was even more powerful than the previous series of explosions suddenly rang out. Chapter 1435. Even if Wang Sheng was running away, he would not forget to take precautions. At the end of the series of explosions, Wang Sheng had already discovered the arrival of the enemy. How could he not have any protective measures? It was also black gunpowder, but it was placed in a corner that others would not notice. It was the section of the road that Wang Sheng had just passed through. This place had already experienced the explosion of gunpowder from the Pavilion of Delicacy, and the surrounding was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Even with Wang Sheng's nose, in this kind of environment, he would not be able to smell a pile of black gunpowder that was secretly placed here. But this place happened to be the place where 4 or 5 experts from the Pavilion of Delicacy were standing at. In Wang Sheng's bag of explosives, there was a hidden, time-delayed detonation device. It was a very simple method, but it was able to detonate the black gunpowder without Wang Sheng having to be there to ignite it. This time the explosion was not the gunpowder explosion of the Pavilion of Delicacy, but the real explosion of military-grade black gunpowder. The equivalent of the explosion was about 50 kilograms. Of course, in Wang Sheng's explosives, there were many sharp shrapnel fragments. Things that increased the lethality were something that Wang Sheng would never forget. The sound of the explosion was too loud, but the screams were too soft. Other than Wang Sheng and a few people who were slightly closer, no one could hear the 4 or 5 screams coming from there. Even experts at the peak of the 9th degree realm could not withstand such a close-distance explosion, as well as the high-speed sputtering of thousands of sharp shrapnel fragments. Everyone's body was covered with hundreds of shrapnel fragments, and their bodies were covered in blood. The violent explosion at such a close distance caused a strong shock to the semicircular canals in their ears. They did not die, but they could not stand up in a short period of time. The protective clothing on their bodies blocked most of the shrapnel attack, but it could not withstand too many shrapnel fragments. The protective formation also disappeared under the influence of Wang Sheng's 7-word formula. It was impossible to rely on the material alone. Just this time, 3 experts of the legendary realm and 2 experts at the peak of the 9th degree realm lost their combat power due to excessive blood loss and the shock. But that was not all. After Lin Linga fired the heavy arrow, Wang Sheng couldn't care less about the numbness in his shoulder. He quickly retreated and a heavy sniper crossbow appeared in his hand. Bang! Wang Sheng felt a familiar rebound on his hand. He had shot this arrow at Master Qian. Past friendships were past friendships, but when fighting, Wang Sheng would never be affected by those things, at least not by the friendship of Master Qian. If it had been Song Yin, he might have, but Wang Sheng would not go easy on Grandmaster Qian. At this moment, Master Qian was shocked to discover that the protective array formation that he had just set up had disappeared without a trace. As an expert who was also extremely sensitive to danger, Master Qian's figure flashed in an instant. The experts of Linglong Pavilion were absolutely loyal. At least the group that Master Qian had brought out this time was. An expert had already rushed to the front of Master Qian. At this moment, he did not hesitate to block between Wang Sheng and Master Qian. The weapon in his hand also instinctively swung out to block. Boom! An explosion sounded. A big hole appeared on the chest of the expert who rushed out, and he fell down softly. The array on his protective suit was also useless. It was directly penetrated by the heavy sniper crossbow and exploded. The heavy arrow pierced through his chest and exploded his heart. Its momentum didn't decrease as it continued to fly towards Master Qian, who was behind him. Master Qian was lucky. He had a loyal subordinate who detonated the heavy arrow in advance. But he still couldn't dodge the heavy arrow that pierced through his subordinate. Even if he could dodge fast enough, but in the face of a heavy arrow that was several times faster than the speed of sound, not everyone had enough speed to dodge it. Wang Sheng didn't dodge it. Similarly, Master Qian did the same. Different from Wang Sheng, the heavy arrow didn't manage to pierce into Wang Sheng's body, but it easily penetrated through Master Qian's protective suit and nailed into his arm, entering an inch into the flesh. Even if it was a heavy arrow shot out from the heavy sniper crossbow, after piercing through 3 layers of high-grade protective suit and the body of a 9th-stage realm peak expert, it only had this little bit of energy left. It wasn't a vital point, nor did it have any major blood vessels. It was just a simple flesh wound. Master Qian only felt his arm tightening, and following that was a wave of intense pain. But this pain was totally bearable. Only the physical pain could be bearable, but the mental pain was indescribable. That top exponent who blocked in front of him had followed him for several decades and was as close as a brother. But he was shot to death by Wang Sheng with 1 arrow. That wasn't all. In just a few moves, Wang Sheng's figure had already dashed to the side of those 5 top exponents who were injured by the explosion. The current them, to Wang Sheng, were totally defenseless. Wang Sheng didn't hesitate to use 5 knives to end their lives. It was still the same logic. Injuring 10 fingers was not as good as breaking 1 finger. After the 5 injured top exponents recovered, those flesh wounds wouldn't affect them too much. Wang Sheng would absolutely not give them this time to recover. In a blink of an eye, 7 top exponents from Linglong Pavilion. Linglong Pavilion Lord was injured while Wang Sheng was only hit by the heavy arrow. Whereas Lin Ling, who was on his back, didn't even wake up. How could Master Qian not feel heartache? Wang Sheng didn't care so much. If he could kill 1 enemy, then there would be 1 less. Why would there be so much sadness on the battlefield? It was sad to lose a comrade, but in the process of battle, one could only suppress the sadness and kill the enemy calmly or angrily. Wang Sheng was an ace sniper. Usually, in such a situation, he would calmly kill the enemy first. Aki couldn't care anymore. With her cultivation level, she couldn't even be considered a burden in a battle of this level. She could only pray for herself. All Wang Sheng could do was hope that she would be lucky enough to escape this calamity. Bang! There were more than 50 enemies. Even if 7 were gone, there were still more than 40. Wang Sheng had just killed here and wasted more than a second. Then, he had to face the reality of being surrounded by 6 people. No matter how strong Wang Sheng was, he still couldn't defend against all of the opponent's attacks. His chest took a solid punch. Like a tide, spirit chi rushed in like crazy, and the powerful force directly sent Wang Sheng flying. In the air, Wang Sheng said the 7 words confrontation and shocked the few masters. Only then did he gain some time to dissolve this force. His 512 acupoints instantly opened up and absorbed the spiritual energy. Even so, Wang Sheng still felt a sharp pain in his chest. The master who pushed the heavy hammer to make coins every day was indeed extraordinary. The power of his punch was more ferocious than the legendary master Wang Sheng saw in the Song family. However, the opponent didn't have it easy either. The Tiger Tooth Army knife hooked the fist's wrist before Wang Sheng flew up. One knife cut off at least half of the opponent's wrist, and blood gushed out. When dealing with a group fight, one must not fall into a tight encirclement. The moment Wang Sheng landed, he used the 7 words confrontation again. At the same time that the opponent was dazed, Wang Sheng turned to run. Chapter 1436. In the entire battle, the only person who was not qualified to enter the battlefield was Aki. Her cultivation level at the peak of the 6th degree realm was nothing in front of anyone. After Wang Sheng and Aki left the glacier lake, Wang Sheng tried to persuade Aki to leave temporarily. Based on her experience in the grounds of Thousand Extremes, it would not be a problem for her to leave the place safely. It did not matter whether she went to Carefree City or the capital city. No one would care about the insignificant life of Aki. The 8 great clans would not think that Aki was important enough to threaten Wang Sheng. Even if Aki did not want to go anywhere with the millions of gold coins that Wang Sheng had given her, Aki could live a good life wherever she wanted. Unfortunately, when Achi was stubborn, she was more stubborn than anyone else. Even 9 bulls couldn't pull her back. In her heart, she was already a dead person. Now, she was just a living shell. The only thing she could do was to die for Wang Sheng. If she could not do this, she would allow herself to take a step back and die with Wang Sheng. Therefore, Aki stayed by Wang Sheng's side. Even if she knew that something like this would happen, she would not leave. The truth was that Wang Sheng could not care less about Aki at this moment. He could only let Aki perish on her own. Aki was also very clear about this. She chose to avoid the battle from the start. Wang Sheng was not arrogant enough to think that he could emerge unscathed from facing off against more than 40 experts. Moreover, there were close to 30 legendary experts among them. Even if Wang Sheng was a legendary expert himself, he was actually the same as everyone else. He had not fully grasped this level of power. He was still best at the peak of the 9th degree realm. Wang Sheng had thoroughly implemented the theory of guerrilla warfare. In the 1,000 Despair Grounds, Wang Sheng's speed had the absolute advantage. No one knew their surroundings better than Wang Sheng and could prepare in advance. The experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy did not have the experience of marching in the land of 1,000 Despair. From time to time, they would be blocked by all kinds of vines and shrubs. Although these things couldn't stop them at all, they were still a drag on their speed. Many experts had different speeds. Once an expert chased after Wang Sheng and pulled away from the others, Wang Sheng would be able to take advantage of the situation and enter a one-on-one battle in a short period of time. The experts of the exquisite pavilion were indeed fierce, and their individual strength was definitely at the peak, but they were still far from being comparable to Wang Sheng, who was an elite soldier on Earth or in the spirit world, a truly fierce character. In terms of combat experience, they were far behind. Every expert of the Pavilion of Delicacy had at least pushed a heavy hammer for decades when it came to minting coins. Their basic skills were solid and their strength was vigorous, which was rarely seen in the world. Even if Wang Sheng had the power of the Swan and Eye transformation, which gave him the absolute upper hand, when combined with the pure spiritual energy that they had cultivated for decades, it would not be easy for Wang Sheng to achieve a perfect victory. However, after killing off 10 experts along the way, Wang Sheng's body was covered in wounds. There were wounds on his body and legs. His internal organs were hurting from a shock. Even the 7-word formula couldn't suppress the churning feeling in his chest in a short period of time. It couldn't be helped. In such a short period of time, when a large number of experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy caught up, it was impossible to kill them without paying a price. Especially with the unconscious Lin Ling behind Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng couldn't let her bear everything. So, he could only face the experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy himself and use an extreme method to exchange injuries for lives. Otherwise, if they were surrounded, both Wang Sheng and Lin Ling would be doomed. What the Pavilion of Delicacy really didn't want was the secret of the 1,000 Despair Ground and Lin Ling's identity. They wanted to maintain the economic status of the Pavilion of Delicacy and maintain their minting rights. As long as they killed Wang Sheng, they could mobilize all the major families and even the royal family to attack Li Jinfeng. Speaking of this, the Pavilion of Delicacy was very clear about what they wanted. They wouldn't fight with the major families for the benefits of the 1,000 Despair Ground. As long as they could maintain their minting rights and distribution rights, the Pavilion of Delicacy would be the controller of the entire world's economy. They wouldn't need to fight, and everyone would treat them like guests. The Pavilion of Delicacy, with a few hundred years of tradition, wasn't something the Li Jinfeng could compare with. As long as Wang Sheng died, Mirror and those beauties wouldn't be able to resist at all. The Pavilion of Delicacy naturally had an incomparable advantage in this aspect. Qian Xinyuan, Yiyun, and most of the goods in the Dream Square were made by the Grand Masters of the Pavilion of Delicacy. Even the notes of the Li Junfeng were made by the Grand Masters of the Pavilion of Delicacy. If they killed Wang Sheng and Mei Er, those huge businesses would easily fall into the hands of the Pavilion of Delicacy. So, in terms of determination to kill Wang Sheng, the 8 families couldn't compare to the Pavilion of Delicacy. It was still the same saying. Only those of the same trade would hate each other. The reason the Pavilion of Delicacy had to be ahead of the 8 families was because they wanted to take the huge profits of the Li Junfeng for themselves. If the 8 families attacked first, the Pavilion of Delicacy wouldn't even have the right to talk. On what basis should the 8 families spend so many experts to kill Wang Sheng and share the huge profits with the Pavilion of Delicacy? Unfortunately, Master Qian didn't discover Mei Er's real identity. Perhaps he felt that based on his decades of friendship with those Grand Masters, it would be more reliable than the friendship between Wang Sheng and them. That was why he made up his mind to not let Wang Sheng leave the grounds of despair alive. No matter what, the situation Wang Sheng was facing now was the desperate pursuit of over 30 experts from the Pavilion of Delicacy. After using the same method to kill another 5, Wang Sheng was already in a sorry state. The protective clothing made from the skin of a 14-stage realm demonic beast had become ragged. There were many blood stains and bruises on his face. The left side of his face was also torn. What was worse was that Wang Sheng spat out blood. Under the situation of exchanging injuries for lives, at the same time Wang Sheng killed his opponent, he had to endure the counterattack of the opponent. Although he had carefully avoided the vital parts, he still inevitably suffered internal injuries. His internal organs were all aching, and it had affected his mobility. The 9 words mantra was basically used by Wang Sheng and Lin Ling in turn. It was used to heal Wang Sheng's injuries and to harmonize Lin Ling's body. The remaining experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy also realized that they couldn't use this method to chase after Wang Sheng. The speed of the pursuit also slowed down. Everyone gathered together, and Wang Sheng had no more opportunities. Master Qian's face was cold. His arm had been simply bandaged, and he followed at the back. However, just as he was about to take action, there was another violent explosion on the road ahead. Chapter 1437. Speaking of which, the experts of the Linglong Pavilion had a solid foundation, which was the result of repeated years of hard work. Compared to most of the experts of the big families, their basic skills were much more solid. Therefore, in terms of the speed of advancement, they might not advance very fast in the early stage of cultivation, but the later stage, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. It could be seen that the first batch of more than 30 people entered the legendary realm in a short period of time. This was the result of them only relying on the help of the Grandmaster's concert on a small scale. If there was a grand theater environment like that of Wang Sheng's, there would be more than a few experts in a large-scale mobilization. However, speaking of shortcomings, there were still shortcomings. In terms of coinage, these experts were definitely grandmasters, but in terms of combat, they were at most dabblers. Under normal circumstances, it was too easy to defeat some of the experts of the same level from the 8 big families. However, when they encountered the real experts who fought in the mountains of corpses and seas of blood, their combat experience was like that of a child in preschool. Otherwise, they wouldn't have died before realizing that Wang Sheng was consciously using this guerrilla strategy to cut off their teammates one by one. After realizing this, the first reaction of everyone, including Master Qian, was to gather the experts. Originally, this was not a big problem, but they were a little too close to each other. The box of black gunpowder that Wang Sheng left behind when he escaped exploded again, and it happened to be in the area where these experts were concentrated. This time, it was in the middle of the 8 experts. The explosive yield had increased by at least 4 times, because the amount of gunpowder had also increased by 4 or 5 times. The number of fragments of the explosion was several times more, and the result was more effective than the first explosion. The 8 experts fell to the ground instantly. Although they had used their strongest strength to offset most of the power of the explosion and fragments, it was inevitable that they were injured. Each of them had over 100 bloody wounds on their bodies. The expert in the middle was almost standing on the edge of the explosives, and he was directly turned into fragments. It seemed that the result was the same as the previous time. As long as Wang Sheng did not turn around to attack, these experts would not die. As long as they rested for a while, the impact caused by the huge explosion would disappear without a trace. The problem was that the shrapnel Wang Sheng used this time was completely different from the previous ones. There were many great masters in the pavilion of Linglong, and they could also make the sharp metal fragments that were as thin as cicada wings that Wang Sheng brought from the earth. There were a total of 10,000 pieces, and all of them were added with the strong mineral poison that Wang Sheng bought from the imperial treasury. Each sharp small blade was the source of the poison. Each of them had over 100 wounds on their bodies. In an instant, the experts who had fallen to the ground were numb and unable to move. Not only did the sharp blades flow through his blood vessels, they also spread the poison throughout his body. When the other experts of a Linglong pavilion rushed to rescue them, they found that their 8 companions had already died in the explosion. Apart from the one whose body had been smashed to pieces, the other 7 all had their eyes wide open. They had actually died with grievances. When Master Qian saw this, he gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. In an instant, there were less than half of the people around him, but Wang Sheng was only injured and vomited blood. If this could be tolerated, what else could it be? Of course, Master Qian would never admit that his command had failed, and he would never admit that it was a mistake to arrange the explosion of the black gunpowder at the beginning to lock onto Wang Sheng's position. In his mind, he had also planned to use a psychological warfare, but the effect was not as good as he had imagined. Using the black gunpowder invented by Wang Sheng to attack, Wang Sheng would definitely bring a certain shock to Wang Sheng. At the same time, it would cause countless seeds of doubt in Wang Sheng's heart, which would affect Wang Sheng's morale, and give Wang Sheng a feeling that he had been completely seen through and had nowhere to hide. Under normal circumstances, this kind of arrangement was effective. However, it was a pity that the experts of the Linglong Pavilion could not perfectly prepare the black gunpowder that Wang Sheng had personally prepared. Not only was the power much weaker, but it also allowed Wang Sheng to instantly guess that he had not fully grasped the truth of Wang Sheng's secret. The result of the psychological warfare was exactly the opposite of what Master Qian had expected. For so many years, Master Qian had spent most of his time traveling between the capital city and the land of coins, and he had not really participated in many battles. When it was necessary for him to personally command, most of the time, it was an annihilation battle, where he crushed the opponent with absolute superiority in combat. In terms of on-the-spot command, Master Qian was by no means a competent commander. He had thought that this time, more than 50 experts would be able to defeat Wang Sheng and the other 2 easily. Unfortunately, everyone had underestimated the power of Wang Sheng. At this point, Master Qian did not have any real on-the-spot command at all. The 2 times he had commanded had caused his own side to suffer heavy casualties. The deaths of their 8 companions had once again stimulated the experts of the Linglong Pavilion. This time, they had learned their lesson and dispersed, but they were not too far apart. Everyone could take care of each other, and then they chased after Wang Sheng in a frenzy. Half of their companions had died, and the remaining few were injured. If they could not learn their lesson, then they would not be great grandmasters. In this way, the pressure on Wang Sheng was immense. The deaths of more than 20 of their companions had already turned the experts of the Linglong Pavilion into lunatics. What was more frightening was that these lunatics were organized and disciplined, and they had learned to use more appropriate methods to deal with him. What else could Wang Sheng do after escaping? However, even though he was escaping, Wang Sheng still used the same old trick. He seized every opportunity to turn around and kill 6 of the experts of the Linglong Pavilion. However, the price that Wang Sheng had to pay was not just vomiting blood. His stomach was heavily stabbed. If it wasn't for the liquid, bulletproof vest and 2 layers of protective clothing, it would have been sliced open. Now, there was a 3-inch long and 1-inch deep gash. His left arm was also hit a few times, and he lost all feeling. Wang Xing knew his body's condition. His left upper arm was fractured. Other than not being displaced, Wang Xing could no longer feel his left arm. There were more wounds on other parts of his body. Fearing that Lin Ling would be injured, Wang Xing used his shoulder and chest to block at least 7 heavy punches. Those heavy punches made Wang Xing's heart stop for at least 5 seconds. The blood he spat out was definitely more than 500 milliliters. Even now, Wang Xing felt his breathing was burning. His lungs were definitely heavily injured. When Wang Xing's knee smashed the nose and face of an expert, the other party was quite ruthless. One of the broken bones in Wang Xing's face had pierced Wang Xing's knee. Even now, Wang Xing was still limping as he ran. Wang Xing was in such a sorry state. In exchange, there were only 11 masters of the Ling Long Pavilion behind Wang Xing, including Master Qian. Chapter 1438. The 11 experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy who were chasing after Wang Xing saw hope. Even though they were not as experienced as Wang Xing, they could still see the extent of Wang Xing's injuries at a glance. His left arm was obviously crippled, and half of his leg was crippled. His internal organs were definitely seriously injured, and a few of his ribs might have been broken. His companions had hammered Wang Xing's chest before they died. No matter how strong Wang Xing's body was, he might not be able to completely dissipate the terrifying power of his companions. They might not understand others, but how could they not understand their companions? However, among the 11 experts who were chasing after Lin Li, only 8 of them were intact. Of the remaining 3, 1 had a broken wrist, 1 had a penetrating wound on his leg and arm, and the last one also had a broken arm. The degree of bending could be seen at a glance. Even the 8 of them who were intact did not have any injuries on their bodies. It was just that the injuries were very minor and did not affect their fighting ability. However, the protective suits on their bodies were tattered, as if they had been ravaged by many people. They were not killed by bushes in the forest, but by a group of ferocious small beasts that suddenly appeared at the end of the chase. Those snow mice and foxes whose fur had changed were much more agile than the human experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy. When everyone was carefully chasing after Wang Xing, they suddenly rushed out. Not to mention the lethality they brought, they were definitely able to slow down the speed of their advance. The few experts who were killed by Wang Xing at the end were delayed because of these small beasts. But even so, those experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy also used their lives to add wounds on Wang Xing's body one after another, aggravating Wang Xing's injuries again and again. Wang Xing could no longer walk steadily. Even if he could still command some ferocious demonic beasts, as long as they were not from the core area of the Place of Thousand Despair, they were no threat to the experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy. The few small beasts that came from the core area of the Place of Thousand Despair had been killed by several legend-level experts in the previous attack. Although those small beasts were very ferocious, they were no match for masters who had just reached the legend level. Other than Lin Ling, there was only a snow rat beside Wang Xing. Wang Xing was also stumbling. He was at the end of his rope. With his knee injured, Wang Xing could not increase his speed. He could only rely on the insects and beasts to stop the pursuers of the Pavilion of Delicacy. At this moment, the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy were not in a rush. The longer they dragged time, the more Wang Xing injuries would not recover, and the weaker Wang Xing would become. They wouldn't need to spend too much energy to wait for Wang Xing to wear himself down. On one hand, Master Qian also wanted to exhaust Wang Xing to death. On the other hand, Wang Xing's previous killings really made the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy shudder. Every time they saw their companions fight Wang Xing to the death, they would not be able to save them in time. Their companions would always be killed by Wang Xing in an abnormally fierce manner. Even if they themselves were severely injured, they would not leave any chance for their companions to survive. That kind of unusual fierceness made people feel fear from the bottom of their hearts just by looking at it. Because of these two thoughts, Master Qian and his 10 subordinates all hoped that they didn't have to do anything and that Wang Sheng could not hold on and fall to the ground. Therefore, everyone would rather follow Wang Sheng unhurriedly and maintain the threat so that Wang Sheng would not have time to recover. It was like an experienced hunter chasing an injured prey, quietly waiting for the prey to struggle and become weaker and weaker. Then, the hunter would easily get the prey. However, the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy obviously didn't know how sharp Wang Sheng's Buddhist incantation of 9 words was. Ever since the Taoist priest obtained the Buddhist incantation of 9 words, he had been treating it as a top secret. Outsiders might know the name of the Buddhist incantation of 9 words, but who would know its real effect? Old Taoist Ling Su had only mastered the Buddhist incantation of 9 words, but Wang Sheng had already mastered the 7-word formula. The more time Wang Sheng was given, the better Wang Sheng's recovery would be. With his legendary level cultivation, Wang Sheng didn't have to worry about the lack of spiritual qi in such a situation. Instead, he didn't need to fight intensely, and Wang Sheng's spiritual qi was also recovering rapidly. Finally, after the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy maintained this state for more than 2 hours, they realized that something was wrong. Instead of getting weaker, Wang Sheng was getting more and more energetic. The first thought that came to everyone's mind was that Wang Sheng must have brought the best elixirs with him. In fact, it was almost the same. Other than the Buddhist incantation of 9 words, Wang Sheng also needed elixirs. With so many gold coins, he couldn't buy the best elixirs in large quantities, but he could still prepare 1 or 2 elixirs. Everyone looked at each other, speechless. They could have taken advantage of the situation to chase after Wang Sheng, but in the end, they gave Wang Sheng 2 hours to recover. Wang Sheng was to be blamed for his excellent disguise. In the first 1.5 hours, he indeed pretended to be weaker and weaker to attract everyone's attention. It was only in the last half an hour that he finally pretended to recover. Master Qian's eyes were almost on fire. After killing more than 40 of his subordinates, Wang Sheng still dared to fool him like this. If this could be tolerated, what else could it be? In the battle, he was obviously about to be exhausted, but Wang Sheng actually gave him 2 hours to recover. What kind of inexperienced person would do this? Wang Sheng walked the 11 experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy like walking a monkey. He didn't know how to describe his feelings. Should he be glad that he was lucky, or should he laugh at the stupidity of the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy? At this time, Master Qian had no time to regret his stupidity and lack of combat experience. At this moment, anger had filled his mind. Looking at Wang Sheng, who was still staggering not far away, he shouted angrily at the back of Wang Sheng, "Kill him!" Without saying anything, the 10 experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy gritted their teeth and rushed forward rapidly. They were also fooled by Wang Sheng, so they were already filled with anger. The angry shout of the pavilion master was what they longed for in their hearts. After hearing it, they immediately rushed to attack Wang Sheng crazily. They didn't care how fierce and cunning Wang Sheng was. Wang Sheng killed their companions and fooled them. This was already an irreconcilable hatred. Both sides would not stop until one side was dead. The people with sharp eyes rushed over crazily, but Wang Sheng didn't dare to fight against 10 of them. He had only recovered a little now. If he had to exchange injuries for lives in a one-on-one fight, he would die quickly if he fought against 10 of them. Therefore, Wang Sheng immediately sped up like before. At the same time, he urged all the animals around to attack the experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy crazily, while he left the battlefield as fast as he could. The experts of the Pavilion of Delicacy had already lost their composure, which gave Wang Sheng another chance to defeat them one by one. Chapter 1439. Bang! The sound of the bowstring was heard, and the heavy arrow appeared directly in front of Master Qian. For a long time, Wang Sheng did not use the heavy sniper crossbow. He relied entirely on his strong physique and cultivation to fight against everyone. so much so that all the experts of the exquisite pavilion subconsciously thought that Wang Sheng was like them and could only use the heavy sniper crossbow once. When killing 1 or 2 people, Wang Sheng did not use it, and the others were still on guard. When killing 3 or 4 people, Wang Sheng did not use it, and most of the experts were still on guard. However, when Wang Sheng did not use it after killing 30 or 40 people, almost everyone relaxed their vigilance about the heavy sniper crossbow. At this moment, Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow was fired for the second time. No one thought that Wang Sheng could use the heavy sniper crossbow again, or rather, everyone had forgotten about it. When they thought that they were very safe, danger suddenly came. Master Qian's reaction was fast. He was now in the legendary realm, and the sudden threat to his life made him instinctively respond. Unfortunately, no matter how instinctive he was, he only started to move after Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow was aimed at him. At this moment, Wang Sheng was less than 200 meters away from Master Qian. The heavy arrow, which was several times the speed of sound, was shot in front of Master Qian in less than 0.1 seconds. Master Qian's movement was still a little slow. The reaction speed of a legendary expert at most allowed him to avoid the arrow that was shot at his chest. He hurriedly jumped and wanted to move away, but his movement was too strong. He jumped up and sent his left leg to the arrowhead of the heavy arrow. This time, there was no one in front of him, and there were no layers of protective clothing to cushion it. This heavy arrow penetrated Master Qian's protective clothing sharply and nailed deeply into his thigh above his knee. Boom! The explosive array of the heavy arrow was activated and exploded in Master Qian's body. Master Qian's strong cultivation was completely unable to resist this kind of explosion from the inside out. One of his legs was instantly blown into 2, and flesh and blood flew everywhere. Master Qian screamed, held his left leg, and jumped a few times. His body leaned against the trunk of a big tree to stabilize his body that was about to fall. Master Qian was also fierce. With his support, he forcefully suppressed his voice back into his throat. He quickly took out a rope from his storage ring and began to bandage his wound while enduring the pain. The sound just now had shocked the experts of the exquisite pavilion. Inevitably, everyone would subconsciously pay attention to the safety of the pavilion master. Among the 10 people who were actually mostly craftsmen and only a few were warriors, 1 or 2 were definitely affected and actually had a short moment of absent-mindedness. The people who were affected were immediately discovered by Wang Sheng. Then, the 7 words formula at the beginning of the confrontation character was activated. In the instant that everyone was slightly affected, one of the 2 people who had been a daze was suddenly rushed to Wang Sheng's side. Kacha! Bang! The instant Wang Sheng broke the other party's neck, the other party's consciousness returned. Before he died, he threw a final punch at Wang Sheng's ribs. This kind of thing cannot be avoided. Those who could survive until now were all experts of the legendary realm. It was already very difficult for Wang Sheng to find a chance to kill someone in such a short time. It was normal for him to be counterattacked. Poof! A low sound came from Wang Sheng's body, mixed with a faint sound of bones cracking. Wang Sheng's liquid bulletproof vest and protective clothing could not completely resist this blow, and his injury became even more serious. The exquisite pavilion had to send 2 people to take care of the seriously injured pavilion master. Apart from those who were disabled, there were actually only 4 people left who could chase after Wang Sheng. Seeing that Wang Sheng was limping but was not slow at all, using the ready-made big trees to avoid the fierce pursuit of the others, the 4 experts became even angrier after being provoked. When the 2 experts helped Master Qian bandage his leg and stop the flowing blood, the 3 of them realized that the others could no longer be seen. They could only hear the continuous screams and sounds of fighting coming from afar. Even though Master Qian was heavily injured and weak, he still didn't forget to listen to the movements over there. In less than half a minute, Master Qian's face showed shock. Go help save him. Master Qian could not be bothered to give any more instructions. He quickly ordered the 2 experts who had just bandaged his wound. How long had it been? There were only 5 people left on the other side. Wang Sheng, and Lin Ling. There were only 3 people on the exquisite pavilion side. The others didn't move anymore. Even their chi disappeared. There was almost no need to guess what happened. The 2 masters were very obedient and quickly charged over there. Just when they just started charging, there was a howl in the distance. Immediately, the chi of exquisite pavilion master disappeared. Master Qian realized that the exquisite pavilion's operation this time was probably going to completely fail. Earlier, more than 40 experts had failed to kill Wang Sheng and the woman on his back. Now, there were still 4 experts left. Even if they were lucky, they would only be able to take down Wang Sheng. However, did the Linglong Pavilion have such luck? Clearly, the exquisite pavilion didn't. If they did, it wouldn't be to this extent. Master Qian's face was pale. He couldn't imagine why all the masters of the exquisite pavilion would end up like this. They clearly had the upper hand. If he had known this earlier, why would Master Qian sacrifice his hard-earned wealth? The exquisite pavilion and Li Jianfeng would split the world's coin market and gold note market. Everyone would interfere with each other and get rich together. Those grand masters wouldn't be troubled after knowing the truth. Everyone could live happily for the rest of their lives. How great would that be? Looking back at the decision he had made, in the end, it was all greed. The huge wealth that Li Jianfeng got in a short time made Master Qian, who had been playing around for decades, jealous. This was the result of a moment of greed. Not long ago, Master Qian had the chance to back out. If he agreed to Wang Sheng, not only could he get the secret of the Thousand Despair Ground, but he could also maintain the previous partnership. However, he couldn't go back. Just as Master Qian was mocking himself and pondering, he heard a few screams from time to time. The voices were very familiar. Needless to say, they were the masters of the exquisite pavilion. What kind of person was Wang Sheng? Master Qian thought that he had observed Wang Sheng closely enough, but he didn't expect that a person could be so fierce. It was not a shame that he could win 1 against 50 people. There was a faint rustling sound. Master Qian leaned against the tree trunk and quietly accumulated his strength, waiting to face Wang Sheng. He could tell that Wang Sheng was already at the end of his tether. From the looks of it, he could collapse at any moment. Chapter 1440. Wang Sheng looked really pitiful now. There wasn't a single part of the protective suit that was intact. It looked like a beggar's suit. It was even more exaggerated than the ghillie suit that Wang Sheng wore on Earth. It was unknown if the wound on his knee had opened up due to overexertion or if someone had hit him. Previously, Wang Sheng's wound was just a small wound caused by a broken bone. Now, however, it was more than 2 inches long. One could even vaguely see white bone. He couldn't even lift his leg to walk. He was dragging it. His face was covered in blood. There were 2 wounds on his head and 1 above his forehead. It was clearly caused by a blunt object. Luckily, Wang Sheng's skull was hard. Otherwise, he wouldn't just be bleeding. The one above his left brow bone was probably caused by a fist. It was also bleeding. His entire left eye was swollen. He couldn't even open it. There was also quite a bit of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was clear that he spat blood more than once. His left arm couldn't move at all. It was already fractured. Luckily, the 2 broken bones were still connected. But now he could only droop. He couldn't use any strength at all. There was a bloody wound on his abdomen, but it had already stopped bleeding. In other places that couldn't be seen, his sternum was broken and at least 3 ribs were broken. None of his internal organs were fine. They were all injured internally. His right hand seemed to be soaked in blood. The tiger-tooth military knife in his hand was completely red. This military knife drank the blood of tens of masters today. At first glance, the killing intent could even be seen through the blood membrane. Wang Sheng was so weak that he almost couldn't move, but Wang Sheng could still move slowly. If someone from Earth were to see this, they would definitely think that Wang Sheng was a zombie. Otherwise, how could he carry a person on his back and continue moving with such injuries? The most shocking thing was that even though Wang Sheng was injured like this, Lin Ling, who was on his back, wasn't injured at all. Almost all the attacks were taken by Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng would rather be injured than Lin Ling being forced to use her battle instincts. It was obvious how much energy it took to kill a legendary master in such a weakened state. She was already very weak. If this happened a few more times, she probably wouldn't be able to open her eyes again. When Wang Sheng came out from behind a big tree and saw Master Qian standing against the big tree, Wang Sheng seemed to be relieved. It was not that Wang Sheng had to kill them all, nor was he afraid that Master Qian would leak his whereabouts. If he really wanted to leak his whereabouts, the series of explosions at the beginning and the few explosions that Wang Sheng had created would be enough to attract many experts to rush in this direction. Wang Sheng had to see Master Qian because Wang Sheng wanted to know about Aki's condition. That stubborn and foolish girl would rather die with Wang Sheng than leave alone. Wang Sheng was not a plant. How could he be heartless? Among the experts who were chasing Wang Sheng, there was one less. Wang Sheng remembered this very clearly. Wang Sheng could totally imagine what that missing expert was doing. He must have gone to chase after Aki. Although Aki relied on her familiarity with the terrain in the ground of Thousand Extremes and her rich experience in action, facing the pursuit of a ninth-stage expert, the outcome would most likely point to disaster. However, Wang Sheng still had a little bit of luck. He had also been chased by a ninth-stage expert in the ground of Thousand Extremes and survived. If Aki had the same luck and power, she might be able to survive too. If he wanted to know what happened to Aki, he would probably have to go through Master Qian. Everyone's fear towards Wang Sheng had probably escalated to a terrifying level. Wang Sheng had come out from the core of the ground of Thousand Extremes for such a long time and walked such a long distance. But he had not met Wang Sheng's trump card in the ground of Thousand Extremes, those huge man-eating ants. This could only mean one thing. Before Wang Sheng left, those man-eating ants had already been exterminated or besieged by the various families using unknown methods, leaving no chance for Wang Sheng to make use of. It was not difficult to do this. Legendary experts did not need to worry about the man-eating ants' attacks. Just a few arrays would be able to easily besiege the man-eating ant army. Trapped in the array, as long as one lit a fire, those terrifying man-eating ants would disappear completely. Master Qian's condition seemed to be much better than Wang Sheng's. His biggest injury was that his left leg had been blown off from the middle of his thigh. There was no doubt about this. Another was that he had lost too much blood. His femoral artery had been blown off, and at least half of his blood had flowed out. If it wasn't that Master Qian was also a legendary state master, and if it wasn't that he had quite a lot of spirit herbs with him, perhaps Master Qian would still be unconscious now. But even so, Master Qian was enough to deal with Wang Sheng, who was 100 times worse off than him. Therefore, Master Qian was not worried about Wang Sheng at all. Wang Sheng might not even be able to stand after a while, much less load the heavy sniper crossbow. There was nothing to worry about. If Wang Sheng had to struggle to get in front of Master Qian did not mind personally sending Wang Sheng on his way. Wang Sheng was indeed not that dumb. He moved a few steps forward and leaned against a crooked tree to rest. Lin Ling, who was behind him, was not disturbed at all. Seeing this, Master Qian was even more certain that this woman's identity was not ordinary. The strange thing was that there was a broken tree stump in front of Wang Sheng. It was left from the battle between Wang Sheng and those masters of the exquisite pavilion. The height was about the height of Wang Sheng's chest. Wang Sheng leaned, and the thick tree stump blocked Wang Sheng behind. No matter what hidden weapons Master Qian had, he might not be able to hit Wang Sheng directly. If I knew this, I would have kept one more heavy sniper crossbow, Master Qian murmured to himself. With a loaded heavy sniper crossbow, Wang Sheng would definitely be dead now. Unfortunately, there was no more. Where is Aki? Wang Sheng panted and called out. His voice was no longer as calm and collected as before. His voice was pitiful, but Master Qian could still hear it. I don't know. One Aki wasn't worthy of exquisite pavilion Master Qian's attention. I just randomly sent the weakest person to hunt her, and there's no result yet. Then, you can go die now. Wang Sheng seemed to have expected this answer. He panted and yelled at Master Qian. You can still use your heavy sniper crossbow. Master Qian's face changed, and then he relaxed. Wang Sheng wanted to trick him like this. Wasn't he thinking too much of himself? I can still kill you without the heavy sniper crossbow. Wang Sheng resisted the pain in his stomach and yelled at Master Qian. I want to see how you can kill me without the heavy sniper crossbow. Master Qian sneered. With those bugs. As soon as he said this, Master Qian found that on the tree stump in front of Wang Sheng, there was a strange pipe-like thing. The mouth of the pipe was pointing at him. Chapter 1441. If Song Yin were to see this strange-looking pipe in Master Qian's eyes, she would definitely recognize that this was the M200 sniper rifle that Wang Sheng had used to kill Dai Si from a few miles away. Ever since Wang Sheng discovered that the power of the sniper rifle was not enough to kill an expert above the 6th stage who was prepared, Wang Sheng had basically given up the use of the sniper rifle. Later on, he even built a powerful heavy sniper crossbow to replace the sniper rifle to achieve long-range sniping. However, not using it for a long time did not mean that the sniper rifle could not be used. Based on the habits on Earth, Wang Sheng would regularly maintain the 2 firearms that he carried with him. Even if the Glock was out of bullets and the sniper rifle had not been used for a long time, the M200 was in good condition. It was always loaded in the storage ring, and Wang Sheng could use it as long as he took it out. The heavy sniper crossbow required a huge amount of strength to load, but the M200 did not need to be used, as long as one had the strength to aim and pull the trigger. That was the case now. Wang Sheng's movements were very fast, and he fired the gun as soon as he set up. The armor-piercing incendiary bullet left the muzzle with flames, spinning towards Master Qian, who was 100 meters away. Under normal circumstances, Master Qian, who was in the legendary realm, would not be injured at all even if he stood on the spot and let the sniper rifle shoot. His strong cultivation was enough to ensure that Master Qian's defense was extremely good, and the sniper rifle's bullet could not even penetrate Master Qian's protective suit. However, the situation was different now. Master Qian was seriously injured, and he had lost more than half of his blood. He was extremely weak. Moreover, what Wang Sheng attacked was not the place that Master Qian's protective suit could protect, but Master Qian's eyes. No matter how powerful an expert was, the eyes were still a vulnerable part. Even a legendary expert would not be able to withstand a shot from a sniper rifle in the eyes. As long as it hit, the bullet with strong kinetic energy would shatter the eyeball, causing severe pain to the target, and at the same time, it would affect the target's defense. Once the bullet entered the brain, there was no doubt that he would die. Master Qian did not dare to take on Wang Sheng's shot. He could feel the danger in advance from the heavy arrows of the heavy sniper crossbow, and the same could be said for the bullets of the sniper rifle. However, this time, Master Qian could not dodge in a wide area. He was not as agile as he was now, with only one leg left. He could only tilt his head slightly to avoid the attack. At the same time, he opened his large folding fan and placed it in front of him. Ding! The sniper rifle's armor-piercing incendiary bullet accurately hit one of the ribs of the folding fan, exactly where the eye had been. The ribs of the folding fan bent and immediately bounced back under the effect of Master Qian's spiritual energy. According to Master Qian's thoughts, the bullet would definitely bounce off. His folding fan wasn't an ordinary item. It was the best material he had carefully selected to block heavy arrows from heavy sniper crossbows. After infusing it with spiritual energy, it was almost invulnerable. However, the bullet did not bounce off as Master Qian had expected. Instead, it drilled into the fan and came out from the other end. Fortunately, Master Qian had injected his spirit energy in time. As soon as the bullet penetrated the surface of the fan, it was already wrapped by the spirit energy. The penetrating force was not that strong, and it was directly embedded in a fan bone. Master Qian was shocked, but he was relieved after seeing the condition of the bullet. However, before he could heave a sigh of relief, Wang Sheng's second shot had already arrived. This shot was still aimed at Master Qian's eye just now. Wang Sheng had accurately calculated the position of Master Qian's eye. He almost didn't stop shooting and was still determined to destroy Master Qian's eye. The folding fan suddenly retracted. In a split second, the armor-piercing incendiary bullet was firmly clamped by the retracted folding fan, and it could no longer move forward. Master Qian's, I was less than 5 centimeters away from the bullet. Wang Sheng had already fired the third shot. Master Qian shook his head slightly and said regretfully, "It's useless." 2 bullets were already enough for Master Qian to estimate the power of the bullets. As long as it didn't hit the vital parts, it wouldn't be a threat to him. However, the third shot was not aimed at Master Qian's eyes, but at Master Qian's right knee, which was the only leg that was still standing. Master Qian's movement wasn't that fast, so the shot hit Master Qian's knee. Master Qian's knee seemed to have been hit by a giant hammer, and it shook violently. Master Qian was caught off guard. This shot directly made his knee shrink backward and then bounced forward again. With such a weak and bouncing knee, Master Qian's body almost lost its balance. He hurriedly exerted force on his feet to stabilize himself. However, at this time, Wang Sheng's fourth shot had arrived. Bang! This time, Wang Sheng aimed at Master Qian's mouth. Like the eyes, the mouth was also a vulnerable part. However, compared to the eyes, the mouth's protection was still much stronger. As long as one closed his mouth tightly, he could easily bounce the sniper rifle's bullet away with just his teeth. However, because of the previous weak knee, this shot was aimed at his mouth. At the critical moment, Master Qian gritted his teeth, and only a click was heard. His upper and lower incisors had already bitten the back half of the bullet. Under normal circumstances, this would be enough to stop the sniper rifle's bullet. However, Master Qian's current condition was very bad. Although he managed to bite it in time, he didn't manage to bite it firmly. The bullet was knocked up and down by Master Qian's incisors and changed its direction, but it didn't stop moving forward. It rolled into Master Qian's mouth. A sharp pain spread from Master Qian's incisors through his tongue to his throat. Bang! The armor-piercing incendiary bullet rolled and tore open Master Qian's tongue, tore open Master Qian's vocal cords, and smashed heavily on Master Qian's cervical vertebra. Then it was deeply embedded in it. A legendary expert was indeed a legendary expert. His bones were so hard that a sniper rifle's bullet at such a close distance couldn't penetrate it. Master Qian's voice was directly blocked in his throat, and he could no longer make any human sounds in an instant. However, Master Qian heard a hissing sound of air leaking. At the same time, there was a feeling of deflation in his burning mouth and throat. All the strength in his body disappeared at this moment. Although Master Qian was still standing steadily, he could only make a gurgling sound at his throat. Bang! Wang Sheng seized the opportunity to fire another shot. This shot completely ended all of Master Qian's fantasies. His right eye, which had just been tightly protected, was directly penetrated by Wang Sheng's armor-piercing incendiary bullet from the pupil into the bottom of his eye. His entire eyeball exploded, and red and black blood flowed all over his face. Master Qian's body finally went limp slowly. He leaned against the big tree and sat on the ground bit by bit. The bullet that drilled into his right eye completed its armor-piercing incendiary effect. While it drilled directly into his brain, it also brought out a flame in Master Qian's right eye. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.